Welcome to Perceptions Today. It's UK date, 5th of July, 2022, Zoom chat 42. And for all the Douglas Adams fans and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, yes, it is the correct number. We are here to discuss consciousness books, podcasts, videos, and other researches that we find of interest and might be worthwhile putting into the resource hub that we're creating at the moment. Remember, we are recording this for the Perceptions Today podcast and also streaming this live to YouTube today. So please bear this in mind. So do not divulge anything that is private information. We can edit it out from the actual audio podcast afterwards, but from the actual live YouTube one, we won't be able to do that. Perceptions Today looks into consciousness research in all different areas. I am your host, Paul, and your co-host is Ian D.W. Hawkins. Say hello, Ian.
Hey, everybody.
And what we will be doing is telling you about some upcoming events. My teeth are not in at present. What you'll find is that on the UK date, 12th of July, at 9 to 11 UK time, Anthony Peake will be coming to talk about his latest book, Cheating the Ferryman, and carrying a meet and greet kind of event. Then we'll be doing the same thing at 3 to 5 p.m. And again, we will be revolving around Anthony's book and other related subjects. Also then, lucky enough, and in the room, we have Eileen Myers, also known as Imaginal Traveller, who will be joining us on August the 4th. That will be UK time, 7 p.m. And we have many other things that are going in between those dates at present. So, if you're looking that you want to continue helping out with the actual account and with the education of ourselves and bringing up information, the best way to do that is look on perceptionstoday.com. That's one word. And what you'll find there is our event list, our mailing list, our YouTube channels, one for the community, which is all the different types of people that are connected to us, which I think you should be aware of. And they are actually invested in looking and helping us. Again, Instagram as well. And you will also be able to help reach out to more people who might have questions and bring them to talk to us. Even people with experiences which they're looking to dive into, whether it be in the neurological side or just in how they perceive life entirely. What you would do is basically go from there. And for the people who are listening on YouTube, it would be nice if you could actually subscribe and then leave a comment within the actual box saying, I have subscribed, and we will actually reply to you then. Looks on life, whether it be people with questions, experiences, researchers, etc., then please follow them and tell them where you've connected to them from, because sometimes they don't actually get that way. And again, if you want to be involved in more of the following, then obviously worthwhile, as I said, going back to perceptionstoday.com and actually hitting into the contact sheet or even the mailing list. And I would recommend getting on the mailing list because that lets you know when we're having different events. I send it out. It's a very short, sweet email. And also, if there's any more information about different podcasts and upcoming things that I think you should be aware of. Anyway, without further ado, welcome everyone, one and all. And as this is part 3 of discussing consciousness about books, researchers, videos, and everything else, it is just really good that we're having this opportunity to come together and discuss this topic once again. And it's nice to see the people that have just turned up quickly saying hello to Shadow Fox, Imaginal Traveller, Fred, Lexi, Myron, Jeffrey, Iridescence, Greybeard. Nice to see you. Haven't spoken to you for a while. And obviously the last time you're on a roller coaster. And again, Belcrow and Brad and Barbecue Beef, I think from there. And also there's the kind of eclipse symbol and JC. So, Ian, how are you doing?
I'm doing good now, thank you. I've sorted out my shopping, I've eaten pizza. Life is much better. How's things with you?
Well, we're flying a complete spaceship with multiple decks and just trying to get things sorted here and just see what happens as we go along, which is great. And I haven't really mentioned to the people that we're putting together basically a PDF file, Excel spreadsheet of all the different books and everything so that we can pass out. We did one with last week, and obviously we'll do the same with this one. So where would you like to start, Ian?
Yes, of course. Right, where would I like to start? Give me 2 seconds. I'm struggling to remember the name of this guy. But,
okay, but for the people who are actually listening either here in Twitter Space or in YouTube, if you want to put your hand up or send information in talking about that, then we can start the discussion, because today is one really of just feeding off of each other and expanding on what we're getting to know and picking it up from there.
Yes, right, I found it.
Excellent.
Yeah, so it's a book about consciousness, and right, hang on a minute. No, it's all going down the pan.
Are you fumbling a book, or are you fumbling a laptop?
I'm fumbling a phone screen. Right. It's Zach Bentov, Stalking the Wild Pendulum.
How? Okay.
I can spell that for you.
No, I've got Stalking the Wild Pendulum, so I got there, and I can bring that into the shared section, which would be good.
Okay. So basically, this guy is trying to describe how we as people functioning in how do I put it, in the material world, interact more or less so with the higher consciousness. And I believe the book was written in the 70s. It might have been the 60s, but so obviously he wasn't aware of some of the things we know now about black holes and things like that. But actually, his background isn't one of physics or anything like that. I think the guy's just incredibly astute and an engineer. But his insights into cosmology and yeah, definitely how consciousness interacts with the greater consciousness is very interesting. And the reason the book has the title "Stalking the Wild Pendulum" is because, and I'll try not to butcher this, is he describes your coming into and going from higher states of consciousness as the swinging of a pendulum. And at certain points, as that pendulum swings at the end of its travel, there's a point where it is neither moving upwards nor down. And he describes that point as a point of infinite potential, which for that time, that fraction of a second, spreads out throughout everything. And as normal day-to-day life happens, obviously you don't spend a lot of time in that state. And his descriptions basically are to sort of give you some sort of framework as how you might spend more time in that period of rest of the pendulum, as opposed to normal day-to-day life where you're swinging in and out of it and not really experiencing it a whole lot. So that's the first thing that he kind of touches on. The second thing is, I can't remember which room it was in, but we were talking about water, and I think Laird Scranton might have been talking about water. But he also uses a sort of similar analogy in terms of at the very top there is a wave, say, and that represents the fullness of consciousness, and then below that are different levels, and they all sort of peak into the higher consciousness every now and then, but some not so much, and others are on a level below it, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's a very interesting read, and like I say, he also has a theory about cosmology and how black holes may give rise to new universes and things, so that there isn't, say, a start to this universe. It is more of a continual flow through different stages that all sort of loop back. But yeah, no, super interesting read. I highly recommend.
Definitely from the sounds of it. What I've done is I've put it into the box for people to read, which is good. And it's also gone straight into the live YouTube as well. Has anybody actually read the book that Ian was talking about?
No.
Okay. So it's be a fascinating one to glance over. All the ones that I'm giving you are links via the Goodreads website, due to the fact that means you can just go anywhere else and pick up the information, which is fantastic. What we also find is that we've been amassing a nice number of books from this point. And as you were saying that you were looking at the different states of consciousness within the swing of it, there was the case of one podcast I was listening to that was going through that you may have kind of your brain subsectioned or personality goes off, and you may be holding on to information in your DNA from previous encounters, whatever which way around you want to go with the definition, because as we say, using words is very difficult to express these topics that we're dealing with, and it's very much
that sounds really interesting. That sounds super interesting, dude. Like, I don't suppose do you remember at all what podcast it might be?
I need to pull the actual author up, because the person who was writing the book was, I think it was 1920s, but as we talk, I can do that and try and pick it up as we go along. And they were almost like saying that you could almost have 4 subsections within the brain, but you might have other issues that go along where, for example, they had twins in this real time then of the book being written. There was triplets that were having identical stories apart from a slight variation about their background history. And let's just say it was like they were talking reincarnation, but we'll have to use that as a fluffy kind of terminology. But when they were going back and regressed, and they were independently checking each one of the triplets, it went back to a Hawaiian island and they were being married off. They all had the right details apart from a slight shade color of the dress. But at the time, there's only twins there. And what this person, I think it was a female author of the book, came out with after lots of investigation was that when the twins had passed all the information that was there, coming down to triplets, it was part of one twin's memory got embedded into triplet 1 with part of that memory plus her own. Then triplet 2 had a combination of the first 2 twins, and then triplet 3 had, say, the second twin at the very origin, and then half of twin 1 in the other one. So you had a split of information, but it was almost all correlating apart from a very difficult twist. But as I'm going to be looking it up as we talk, it will be fascinating to see if anybody's actually read this book once I go and find it. But has anybody else got anything on the table while I am searching for this book? Okay, Fred, you'll give me space, which is good.
What's up? So it's actually supplementary material. I was down the rabbit hole on YouTube, as I do, and I ended up stumbling upon like Synchronicity YouTube, and one of the really, really good channels I found, I'd really recommend it, is Eternalized. And basically this video is called Active Imagination, Confrontation with the Unconscious. And it's basically heavily propped up by Jung's material. So in the description, there's 3 different books. So I have those down. I don't know if you just want to get them down for the sake of getting them down, because that's what I'm going to look up soon. But the first one is Jung on Active Imagination. And then the second one, I can send them to you on DM, so it's easier. But the next one is Inner Work, Using Dreams and Active Imagination for Personal Growth. And then the last one is Encounters with the Soul, Active Imagination, as developed by C.G. Jung. And it was basically kind of pulling from why there's such, I don't want to say like universal iconography, you know, but there is. And like specifically the ones in alchemy are the ones that come from the soul or come from the source or the unconscious or, you know, whatever. And it was a really fascinating video, just because I never really had it put down in that perspective where you can, because for me, I have an extremely active imagination. Like when I close my eyes, I can visualize a lot of stuff, and sometimes they're a little too pervasive, so I kind of just like try to distract myself. But I've been trying to do the exercises that were in this video, and you kind of just got to let it go and see what happens. And it's been pretty interesting, but I would recommend those. I'll DM them to you right now.
Oh, that'd be great, because then I can put them up there. I was trying to write them down, but I wasn't writing fast enough. Myron.
Yeah, good morning. There's a couple of other Jung books that I would really recommend. One of them is Psychology and Religion, East and West. It's a pretty comprehensive book. It's really big, but it covers a lot of territory on the subjects of the differentiation and the psychology between the Eastern way of dealing with spirituality and the Western way. And you know, Jung was quite a scholar on this stuff. So anyway, that's one, and that's part of the collected works that he put out. There are two other books that changed my life. One was Alchemical Studies, and the other one is Psychology and Alchemy. Now, those books are pretty heavy duty. I mean, it's not easy reading unless you're into the imagery that alchemy produced in the past, and I was, and still am. So when I read it, it was like mother's milk, but it's pretty esoteric reading. Both those books are pretty esoteric. Jung was, I think, the first one to ever imbibe alchemy as a psychological process. And so he spent an enormous amount of time defining terms, looking up what these old terms were, making a whole list of them, and then and then explaining them psychologically. And then last but not least, of course, is Memories, Dreams, and Reflections, which is really important reading for anybody who likes Jung. That's his last book on his life, his journey, and his spiritual experience. So those books, that's about the Jung thing, even though there's a lot more of them. I have most of his collection of psychological books. Like he wrote a book called Symbols of Transformation, which is also quite remarkable. It's all part of the same series, and the same translators are involved in all of those. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about. He just mentioned Jung, so I just wanted to throw those four in, but I have his whole Gesellschaft of books. So what I wanted to bring up was a subject that really bothered me, which was the book Communion. Now, you probably know this book. It's written by Whitney Strieber, and I think it was his first breakthrough book on his experiences with UFOs and all that kind
I'm
of
just going to pause you for a minute, Myron. I just want to quickly check because obviously Shadow Fox's hand went up, but I'm obviously coming back to you, Myron, about Communion, which will work. But we have, again, your banner says always trust your gut. I can't really say Wiser Revolutions. You've got your
Lady Revolution is that, I think.
Well, it says WI, isn't it? Wiser Revolution.
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 I'm reading the @ symbol. That's what I'm reading. So not the actual above text. So that was it. And anyone familiar with this account?
Who are you talking to? Who are you asking?
Excellent. You're already in. That's good. I was just checking out because obviously want to make sure your audio is fine, which is good.
Yes,
I know that you've been sitting there for a while as we're going through. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Excellent. It's just my brain couldn't read all the text of the way that it normally sits on top of that. It was small text, small screen. Too many screens I'm working on at the moment, which is great. I just want to quickly check with Shadow Fox. Are you okay waiting with what you put your hand up for?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So,
I know Lee Two Hawks was going to jump in here real quick too. So.
Yeah, so obviously I'm going to let Myron finish. I just want to make sure we won't get too far off point on something. Just on the revolution. Again, my brain just can't read that properly at the same time. Are you okay waiting until we come to you?
Yes, certainly.
Do you have another name that is easier for my poor brain to work with at the moment?
You can call me Wiser. You can call me people.
Wiser. Okay, Wiser is easy enough for me today. That will stick in there quite happily. Right. Okay, and then we get to iridescent. So, Myron, please continue.
All right. As far as communion is concerned, back when that book was written, I really resisted reading it because I didn't believe in UFOs. I thought it was nonsense. And then I thought, well, that's a kind of negative point of view when I haven't really read anything. So I started reading everything I could find. I read about 40 books on UFOs and abduction and encounters and all that stuff. And then when I read, and for some reason I resisted communion. It was on the bestseller list for years, and I liked Strieber's movies. I mean, he wrote 2 really great films. But so anyway, finally, I was in a used bookstore, which I always love, and I went into this used bookstore, and I saw it, and Caron just said, "Take it down and read it." So I bought it and I read it. Interestingly enough, the introduction to the book, to Communion, talked about the fact that Strieber had epilepsy. Well, they thought he had epilepsy, temporal lobe epilepsy. And when I read the book, what struck me was the simulation and the similar experiences that he had that I had with my visions because of TLE. And even though the book goes a little off the far end compared to my stuff, it's quite readable, and he's a brilliant writer. And of course, he has a whole website and discussion group and stuff like that. And he wrote the introduction to one of Tony Anthony's books. But anyway, the point is that it challenged my doubt on UFOs as a psychological, spiritual phenomenon rather than just something from outer space, maybe from inner space more than outer space. And it was quite a remarkable shift in my attitudes towards that whole experience. And I highly recommend Communion. I mean, I was shocked that I would even be moved by any book on UFOs. But he's first of all, he's a really good writer. And second, his life kind of follows my path almost completely. And the book itself, even though at the end of it he has some direct encounters with aliens, that still can be interpreted the way that I have the direct encounter with my inner spiritual beings. They could just as easily be aliens as spiritual beings, just like if you're on DMT or ayahuasca or anything else. And so I think that depending on how you interpret what he says, then you can sort of find yourself in there, whether you believe in actual, interface with extraterrestrials, or whether you believe that it's all an internal process. Now, the other subsequent books after that, I think, are more fictional, because he's a really good fiction writer. Even though he says it's not fiction, I think they are fiction. But Communion itself, I think, is a kind of confession that he made about his experiences as a young man, as a child. And boy, they just really parallel mine. And I just saw, temporal lobe epilepsy all the way. And he was examined for temporal lobe epilepsy, even though they didn't find anything. That doesn't mean a thing. You can still have it, and they won't find a thing, especially depending on when they looked. So, so besides the Jung books, I really, if you're really interested in UFOs and all that, I really recommend Communion as a book. Especially if you're a skeptic. I think it's probably better for a skeptic than anything else. But anyway, so that's what I wanted to bring to the table. I mean, Jung wrote a book on UFOs too, by the way, which is sort of an interesting one, but I won't talk about that now. So that's my rant.
That's okay. You can come back and rant after we've gone through a round again on the loop. So it's always good fun. But no, you're bringing good points on this. Wiser, welcome.
So, hello, everyone. I listened to your introduction and talking about triplets and touching on consciousness, and what the gentleman before was just talking about. Whether we're experiencing things that are actually physically extraterrestrial, like not from this planet, as in, or whether it's an inner journey, and all these things are connected. And I'd have to really produce like a bibliography of all my research to
Excellent. You sound like you're in the right place. Can I ask you a quick question? How did you find us today?
I believe that I follow barbecue, and he and I, we've had a couple of conversations in philosophical spaces, and I usually do spaces on energy work and things like that. So,
you're in the right area in Thailand.
I'm around, yeah, it's synchronicity all the time. So what I was going to say about memory, as far as like our consciousness and how what I found, and I became very, very interested in this, is there's something that we all know about, right? Genetic memory, and you share that with your sisters, your brothers, your everybody down your heritage and ancestry. It goes on and on. After a while, genetic memory genetic material tends to break down and become strewn across so many different generations and lines of ancestry that it can get lost. However, it doesn't seem to get lost. And through I have a background in astrophysics and quantum mechanics, of course. And
now, Wiser, I have to say, and this is just great because Ian is very much into physics in his area as well. And I have to say, all the things you're saying are just fitting exactly right with the topics that we like to discuss and contemplate. So I'm really glad that you're here.
I'm glad that I'm here. I'm glad I'm here too. Thank you for saying so. But there's the other thing is that we have cellular memory, cellular memory is more of the collective consciousness that we carry down through generations, through people, through, I mean, it doesn't know time. It's what when we talk about collective consciousness, I do believe that that's what we're talking about, is our grander connection as a human race. And that goes so much further beyond genetic memory, although it is connected. And that is it would explain why a lot of people have past life regressions, and the book, what is it, Many Lives, Many Masters. I cannot remember the name of the author at the moment, where he regresses a patient back and back and back, and he's a very well-known psychiatrist, and
That's
psycho-
Brian Weiss,
Thank-
Weiss.
Yes, yeah, I remember it now. Thank you for filling that information in. And so I was looking through all of this and doing a lot of research on it, and it's usually what I'm best at, is picking out pieces of information and putting the puzzle together, and that's what I found the most. And then as far as the what the gentleman was talking about, I'm sorry, I'm not calling you by your name. Pardon me, Myron.
That'd be Myron. Yeah.
Pardon me, Myron. As far as challenging our beliefs and resisting things, I find that I was that way as well, and I really started to do. What prompted me to do it was I lost a whole lot of my family, like within 3 years, 4 years, lost them all. I didn't lose them. I know where I left them, but I lost them to dying. And so I started doing ancestral veneration and things like that, and finding things that were just, I couldn't explain. I had no explanation for it, and it really did challenge what I thought, what I felt, what was going on. And along with that, and the background in philosophy, and physics, traditional physics, and quantum mechanics, and finding things that, about the UFOs, and about actual physical aliens, just to travel from here to the nearest, to the nearest binary system that would actually have a planet anything like ours, it's just if we were that technologically advanced, we wouldn't be using physical bodies to do that. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So when Myron mentioned that it's more of an inner journey, more of those are quote unquote spiritual creatures, or energetic beings, that's more of my experience, that they're energetic, they're not physical. And I don't really know that they're spiritual either, although we do seem to use that word to connect it to our human perception and human experience.
Well, definitely, that's a lot of great information. I've actually pulled the book that you were talking about, and also Fred, the connection and links. I've brought all those into the top section as well, which is good. And I have to say, I'm going to be obviously having conversations with yourself on all these topics. It's just, obviously there's a lot of time in front of us, but it really is nice and synchronistically that you've wandered through. And we have to just say it's very good of Barbecue to actually bring you in here as well. Oh, by the way, hi, Myra. I haven't seen you for a while, which is good. And also coming back to, obviously, Shadow Fox. We're trying to keep everything to a kind of like the 3-minute mark at the moment. Hello.
Is this working or not?
Yes, it is. Yes. It is, Myron. So what we do is we'll stick to the three people. No, it is Myron.
Oh, got it.
No.
You might not on his side, sometimes Twitter. does a half run.
It's always fun when these
Yeah,
things
somehow
go.
we got knocked out.
You were still staying in the room, which is interesting. So we go to Shadow Fox, and then obviously we then can go around to Iridescent, and then obviously Michael as well. So we can go from there. But so far, so much information. I haven't been able to obviously pull everything up. I can't type as fast as some people talk. So here we go. Shadow Fox.
Oh yes. Oh, what an honor. You know, there's so many beautiful people in here and new people coming in. It's absolutely fantastic of this, just the consciousness and everything that is here. I'm so grateful to be able to meet you. Wiser, this is truly an honor. And Michael, hello. I know Lee Two Hawks, my husband, has a book recommendation. So go ahead. You're gonna.
Okay, just a few blurb. I'm the husband. So when she said beautiful people, I know she was talking about me. But there's what I haven't heard discussed is mass consciousness. The most prominent part of that is mob rule, so called. But mass consciousness is an influence on behavior and thinking throughout the global enterprise. There's also cellular consciousness. There's also spiritual consciousness, which I would call awareness more than consciousness. And just a thought for pondering, I'll be very quick. In the consciousness, what we call consciousness comes. I'm sorry. Oh, what we call consciousness comes from soul, and there's a thread. It's called a silver thread, and also the stratma. And the stratma carries two major aspects. One is the life principle that comes from a higher source, and the other is consciousness, which comes from soul. So when it anchors, the consciousness anchors in near the pineal, and the life principle enters into the heart. It's an anchoring in a physical form, which of course these are etheric, so you won't be able to see them unless you're capable of doing that. The others, I just want to give that an aspect, something to think about. So in this book, it's called The Fifth Dimension by Vera, Vera, Stanley Alder, Alder. The name of the book is The Fifth Dimension, but she covers the third, the fourth, and the fifth dimensions and the varying consciousness thereof. She actually has a whole chapter on scientific, the advantages that science offers us in a changing and evolving world. So it's an interesting read, and it contains many thoughts other beyond the aspect of consciousness. So I hope I'll just give it forward. Okay, Charmaine.
Excellent. And also, I've got hold of that book, so I'll be able to put that into the shared section as well. Thank you for that, Lee. Whose name did you just mention? Lee? Has Lee run away? Technical difficulties are going there.
Paul, are you guys having any trouble?
No, everything seems to be working fine at the moment.
Because you're breaking up like mad.
Me personally, or the room?
Everything clearly.
Yeah.
Okay, so Wiser can hear clearly. Shadow Fox, can you hear clearly?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so it might be audio settings around your location, possibly Myron.
Are you referring to like his mic quality? Because like I feel like you're just a little close to the mic.
No,
Who? Fred?
People come in and go out and come in and go out, and I don't hear the conversation.
I think one of the things that might solve that for you, Myron, is to go out of the room and come back in.
We'll wait for you.
Yeah, that sounds easy, but it's not. I guess I could try that.
Yep, that will work.
Let me see. Maybe if I get closer to I could try that.
Hey, Paul, you had
Yes.
a question? Okay, go ahead.
All right, the author is Vera,
I've got it. No, I've got all that information, which is good. It was the person's name that you said at the end that you were going to hand the mic over to, and I didn't recognize it in the room.
Oh,
No.
I thought it was someplace else.
Or was it the dog's name that you were talking to, and that was what was going on there, and we got all confused at that point in the room.
God damn.
So, Myron, we can still hear you, which is good news. But if you just exit the room and come back into the room, we'll try that. I'm just putting up the book by Vera into the shared section, and you'll find it's obviously got Shadow Fox's Artisan of the Spirit handle at the end, and also I've mentioned Lee Two Hawks there, so that you know where it's coming from at this point. So all the ones when people are mentioning it, if people speak as slowly for me, I then can write it down slowly, but my pen is on fire as I'm writing across sometimes when people are rattling off books as quick as they go, which is good. So Myron's down there as a listener at this present time, so that's interesting. Now, quickly with yourself, Ian, did you knock him down into listener, or was that him? Did you do that?
No, I let him be. I thought he was going to do some fiddle with it himself.
I thought he was going to bounce out and come back in again. Brad's putting some good information in, which is Nature of Consciousness, Part 3 by Alan Watts, which I'm just going to grab. Meanwhile, I just want to check to see what we got. If I invite Myron back, we'll just quickly see if his audio works. If not, we'll get him to leave the room and come back in again. But so far, everything's going well. Nothing's collapsed, touch wood. And for Micah, all seems to be good. So I know we're going to come to your self-iridescence and then Michael as we go. And we'll start with yourself, iridescence.
Okay. Hi, it's about 3 in the morning here in the Philippines, and I'm actually just taking my own notes and watching in the YouTube and liking all the books that you said, but I cannot complete everything. I mean, I forgot a lot of books, but I
Don't panic. I'm trying to build up the lists.
yeah, and I don't know how it works. Twitter, I'm not really good in gadgets as well. I'm young, but I'm not really good. I'm an old soul. But anyway,
don't panic. I'll be able to send you a file with this, with the information in.
Honestly, I'm just resting my hands right now because I've been working into an art, and after this, I'll be traveling again next week, and I'll be out for 3 weeks or so.
Nice.
I'll be in a forest. So going back, I've read a lot of books in my lifetime. I'm just 30-year-old, living alone for 3 years now, just doing my own things, and a lot about healing and about past life regressions. I read a lot of books, and learn a lot of things. Unlearn. That's the most important thing that I learned. Detachment. I met a monk. I've been into doing a lot of shadow work, grounding, and everything. And the books that resonate with me, for now, since I recently read this book, it's a very famous book, maybe, but Ikigai. It's a very simple book. That for me, there's another word for Ikigai. It's like follow your own rhythm. Like you have to have your own rhythm in your life. You cannot be someone else's, like you cannot always choose what a lot of people choose, like with books, with paintings, with food, with clothes and everything. You have to have your own rhythm. You have to choose your own beliefs. You have to speak your own truth. You have to be your own. That's it. Like you just have to be your own and unlearn a lot of things that you learned in your religion, in your fucked up education. Sorry for the word. With your education and with the school system.
And it's okay. You get 2 bites at the cherry. Any more bad language, and then we put you in the corner to sit for 5 minutes and don't say anything. It just means I then have to edit things out. So don't worry about it.
I think, and The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I love that book. I read that book. I've been a hermit for a long time. At a very young age, I Remembered I stayed under a tree for 18 months. I lost my mind. I thought I lost my mind, but actually that was the time. That was 2017 that I realized that I was under the tree in our farm. We're farmers, and it's a 10-hectare place, and I just fell into my knees and just cried and just asked God or the universe and why? I mean, why things happen to me and why am I here right now? I mean, it's like a story of the fall of Icarus, like that I dreamed a lot of things and then I fall, and it's meant to be. And because the things that I'm trying to achieve is nonsense. When I was young, like I have to be the best in everything. I have to work hard, so hard. I had to finish my studies, being an independent, things like that. And what for? And I learned right now to just be still, be in the moment, appreciate my breath in and out, just meditate. And every day I just appreciate all the little things because it's for me, the suffering that I learned and I had is actually a beautiful awakening, awakening of my soul to my body. And yeah, I think the best book that I can share is the book that you can write on yourself. Start writing your book because I also tried to write one poem a day in this little house that I'm living in and learn a lot of things. That's it.
That's very true. You have to have ups and downs to appreciate all the different things that you learn in life, even though you may not feel like you're having a revelation at the time when you feel you're at lowest. But at the time you go through that, build up those tools or see something, you can then pass on and help somebody else who goes through a very similar state and go from there. But it's quite true that the book you're writing for yourself, it's your own journey, and you have those interactions with people. And lucky enough, by again synchronicity, when we start talking into rooms like this, we get the opportunity to share what we found out and what is amazing. And again, the fact of your contemplation of standing under a tree and just letting go of everything else to try and center without actually realizing, because you didn't plan to do that, did you?
I didn't plan to do that. 2017, I was infected with HIV. That was my awakening moment, and I go back to my country. I mean, I went back to my state. That's the name in Europe, right, or in America. Here it's like a province, like a countryside. So that was a very beautiful. It was a painful moment, but it was a very beautiful story. And now, even I was young, I always loved trees. I always hugged them. No one taught me things like I'm always a type of an independent, somehow weird child. And I grew up trying to fit into school, to be like a likable student because people tend to think because I am a handsome man, I figure out things easily and like things are so simple and I just can get easily with things, but it's not. I question a lot of things. I question even the books that I've read. I question the system of the education, the government, everything. I question a lot. But sometimes I tend to just simmer it down, just be a little nice guy for a lot of people, for families, friends, and a lot of stuff. And I learned right now that you don't have to fit in. I mean, you create your own world, you create your own reality, and when you vibrate higher, when you being conscious and you practice your spirituality or being a human, you connect to this type of people that we're having right now. And I'm actually very happy and grateful that we're having this type of talk because this is what the world needs right now. Having conscious books or listening to consciousness podcast, and I'm just being grateful right now. That's it.
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, we've been very lucky to organically grow since last September to just find like-minded individuals. I mean, when I say like-minded, we're all looking with questions and looking for answers and just seeing where the next puzzle piece is. but we don't all come, as you've heard me say before, looking from the same area. We're overlapping different places, and we're finding connections, which it can be from the artistic range all the way through to the scientific, and all people in between were just questions, or just had accidents, or had strange illnesses.
Yeah. And by the way, I might forgot, but because this year it was really so fast. And by the way, I just had 2 series of my ayahuasca journey, like last May and last June. So, and I mean, a lot of things are busy. So for me, going back to my place right now is like grounding. It's like just being on my own again, and it's just so beautiful that the truth of the matter is I love talking to people. I love traveling around. I love being with a lot of things, but I'm grateful being alone. Most of the times I'm just happy being alone. That's the truth about me, and a lot of people are doing that because I learned that maybe I'm an introvert, maybe, but if that's the term, maybe I am happy most of the time, like maybe 70% of the time or 80% of the time, being alone with my thoughts and just read books or paint or write things.
Oh, definitely. You'll find there's people in this room who are very similar, that are liking their solitude to actually investigate things rather than being caught up in, say, the multimedia magazine lifestyle of everything has to be wonderful and on an up curve, and you never have a down moment, and you always must be having a happy face on. But when you're talking to people, if you find the right kind of individuals, you can actually feel comfortable enough to actually say, well, I'm not feeling right at the moment, but what can I do about this? But you're not looking for pity. You're just looking for information, or just another way to look at it. But the best thing is that everyone who does that and looks for it and says these things, they got so much courage, because they are going on and continuing and looking forward to the next thing to try and help. And again, it's just superb in the way that we've been able to come across these people, and we see them in other groups as well and other places, and it's just very nice to be able to talk to people. I mean, Ian, you've been finding the same situation, haven't you?
Yes, I agree with that. But I'm so thankful with that. I mean, for you, Paul. Paul, here in my country, I mean, here in the country, not my country, but in this country that people wanted to say it's country, it's like a very, I mean, Philippines is a very family oriented type of things, and if you don't go to parties together and every weekend you don't eat with your family or friends, it's like you're a weird guy, and so be it. I mean, so be it. But I mean, I'm loving my own companion, and like talking to like-minded people and like asking questions, and just like if you feel bad about things, you're just not asking for pity or sending pity emotions or energy, but you just want to just be. Thank you.
Oh, definitely. There's times like that. But no, feel free to come back in and talk at any point that you want. I mean, as I was saying to Ian, you found the same situation, haven't you? The way that things have been growing in the last 7 months.
Oh yeah, completely. I couldn't agree more with iridescence there. Yeah, 100%. But it's good that you come out of it the other side, right? A better person. And yeah, it's nice to just have time to yourself to reflect on stuff and do things, work on yourself, I think not enough. Oh, sorry. Carry on, buddy. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things that I really unlearned. I gave all my stuff. It's just so funny and so crazy that I just gave all my stuff, and time that I finished the Bible, okay, so what now? Like, okay, so still I tried to read deep books like Book of Enoch and everything, and I learned that I don't have to focus too much on the dogma or religion, because it's all also, for me, it's like a very deep type of conditioning. It's like connected to your soul or umbilical cord, whatever that is, and like the trauma that we all experience as a human being is all interconnected, and but we also feel the interconnectedness of love and feeling of when you look at the person in I mean, if you're being with a like-minded person, even if you don't talk, you will just feel the love and acceptance when you look in their eyes.
Oh, definitely. Those are very powerful words to be said. And yeah, we're definitely going to enjoy having conversations with yourself. Sorry, I've been waiting out there so long in the void. And I know it's Michael next. I've caught him on the hop.
No, you haven't. Look, I was contemplating where to start. I guess in my EndNote referencing program, I've got over 1,000 academic papers that would deal with some aspect of consciousness. But I shared something up in the nest that I really enjoyed early on in my journey.
No, you didn't read the guidelines. The guideline says please ask before sharing anything in the nest because we've had spam people before. Oh, Ian, do we deduct in points or what do we do? I don't know how we're going to handle this situation with Michael.
I think we can let Michael slide.
We'll give him one. We'll give him one. Yeah, continue, Michael.
Well, I thought I had cred because I'd been with you guys a couple of times before. But anyway, so yeah, the book I've shared, Journey into Consciousness, I loved. Someone lent it to me, and it would have been over 20, 25 years ago. And you judiciously made sure I gave it back, which I didn't really want to. But I can't even tell you much about what was in it now, other than I really enjoyed it. It accommodated some of the stuff I experienced. So I do remember him, as he started to develop a meditation practice, starting to get shown things in his meditation, and that's something that I also got in my journey. So that's great. I can give you guys that I recommend in remote viewing. That's a tangent I've taken. So I'd recommend Paul Smith is probably one of the best, and another guy, Robert McMonagle.
Hang on, just on Paul Smith is going to be pretty popular as a name. What's one of the books, please?
If you just put Paul Smith remote viewing,
okay.
I think he's only written 2, but he certainly has, like, there's some kooks in there as well. So you want to, it'll save you a lot of time. Working out the good from the bad. He's definitely one of the good ones. In Buddhism, you could do a search for a text called The Ornament of Clear Realization. I found that a really good. It's one of the key texts that the Tibetan monks read in their Prajna Paramita, and just the 2 pillars of that, just the 2 words, emptiness and selflessness, have been something that I've contemplated a lot over the last 10 years. I think they're a key part in any practice. So you can find that online too. I think it's Scrib, where you can download it for free.
You have to say that again for me, please.
The Ornament of Clear Realization.
I found Paul H. Smith and I found his website, so I've got that and I'll put that up as well.
Yep, no, that's great.
And I just forgot the Ornament of, what was it?
Clear Realization.
Excellent, thank you.
I've also enjoyed, not that I agree with even half of what he says, but I love listening to him, is Terence Mckenna. So you'll find a lot of his interviews or discussions on YouTube. There's a great one. I guess it's a pretty major introduction. It goes for 3 hours, but his address to the Jungian Society was pretty awesome. Academically, I actually shared recently with Shadow Fox. I wanted to check she'd got them, but there's 5 academic papers that I shared with her by an academic called Roland McCratty, and he is the lead scientist of the Heart Math group, and so I've done quite a bit of research in that area too. The role of the heart wave in terms of the energetic side of consciousness. And something that I buy into there is what's called multiplexing. And I first came across that in a paper by Van Rulen and Christoph Koch. And the title of the paper was, is consciousness, sorry, I forget it now. It'll come back to me later. It's something like discrete or continuous. That's right. Is consciousness discrete or continuous? That was published in 2003, and that discusses, the role that carrier waves might have for different cognitive and sensory modes. So that's kind of a big view on my kind of how we put the conscious experience together. So that's probably a bit more academic than most people want. The Whitley Strieber book, that was good. I've read that.
I've just managed to put a few of the ones that you've mentioned into the nest, so that will fit there nicely.
Okay, that's probably 3 minutes, isn't it?
Well, you've done very well. I'm going to get you back after, if there's nobody else with another one, which goes on, which is superb. I don't like to cut people off as we go along, but wiser than, I think, Ian, you're going to have to tell me who's next after. I think it's Meyer and then Shadow Fox, isn't it? After Wiser. Ian.
Oh, Myron and then Wiser. No, sorry. Wiser.
No, it's Wiser, Meyer, and then Shadow Fox, as far as I can tell.
Yes, that's right.
We get there in the end. It's only technical difficulties. It's not going to be a problem. Wiser.
I was just going to mention, of course, when you guys were talking about, when you were speaking about Jung, of course, I mentioned Alan Watts and those lectures, how to, those are, I mean, they're incredible. There's clips of them all over YouTube, but to find the full lectures is really the best way that I found. That's a great way to listen to it, and it takes a lot of Jung's and the Eastern Western philosophies and philosophies, schools of thought, spiritual practices, and brings them together. Let's see, what was I was looking through my reading list. As far as remote viewing, I found that was really, really helpful. It came along with meditation practice. I've had a regular meditation practice for years now, but the pranayama breathing, where you're syncing up the 2 hemispheres of your brain, and it calms down your central nervous system. And this is very scientific. Not just physiological but spiritual practice. And it works very, very well. I could only find YouTube videos on that, and I didn't want to post anything in the nest because I hadn't had permission yet. Let's see.
Just check with us. That's okay. I mean, you're starting to show that you are not a troll, so I'm starting to gauge with these things, which is good, because
Right.
I don't want to close the room down and then have to repost everything back into a nest and just get a nightmare scenario, as Ian and I have had before.
There were some other books I was thinking of. There was The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
I love that book.
That's a very good one.
Very beautiful book. for
Training the
impeccable.
Samurai Mind is a good one, by Thomas Cleary. It's a translation. Training the Samurai Mind. It's a clearing up of the mind. I don't know how to explain it. I'd have to go through it. Let's see.
Sorry, what was that one again? I got the
It's
4 agreements. I didn't catch the other one.
Training of the Samurai Mind by
Okay.
Cleary. And then what was another one? And I know that this has the word.
Wiser, you've just lost audio, I think. Hang on. I can't really hear. Ian, can you hear her? Ian.
No, she's cutting out a little bit. Sorry, man. My Twitter's playing up like crazy at this point.
Did it cut out?
Yeah, you got to the Samurai Mind and then you said something else and then it just disappeared and I couldn't pick it up.
There's a book, it's called Intuitive Witchcraft, and although I don't practice witchcraft, the intuitive parts of the book, and it comes from many different authors, many different sources. That book is not just written by one person. It's full of so many. It's let's see, it's by Astria Taylor. It really pulls together one's ability to trust oneself and follow your intuition and listen to your higher self, your inner self, however one wants to put that, and how to integrate that into physical practices of yoga and breathing and all of that. It helps further things along. I think it's helped a lot of the people that I've spoken with and counseled make their progress not faster necessarily, just more efficient and less messy. I guess I would describe it that way, and a deeper grounding for themselves. Let's see, there was one more that I was reading. Oh, goodness sake. It wasn't. It's in my library here. Oh, of course, Bringers of the Dawn and things like that. Those are interesting books. The Barbara Marshiniak, the channeling. Those are interesting. Get to have a different perception of how other people and other groups see things. And as far as we're talking about UFOs and or other beings, other energy beings. There was one more that's called Clairvoyance, and it's by Tabitha Zalat. Those were good ones. There's a couple other ones there's one called Flower Memory by Joan Grant. That was an amazing book, and it explained a lot about cellular memory, genetic memory, mass memory, how all of these things intertwine and connect with one another. And anyone who hasn't listened to Alan Watts, I would suggest that.
Sorry, you're talking away from the mic. I missed that last one. I got the far memory one. I didn't hear the other part.
Oh, far memory. Oh, as far as anything else, like if anyone's just looking for further answers, Alan Watts is really easy to listen to. He's funny. He keeps things light, although it is philosophy. It's not.
His whole history about where he's gone through and taken his information from and all the different bits and pieces that his whole lifestyle was fantastic.
Yeah,
he amassed everything and then just sieved through it for himself. I'm just checking to see. Oh, right. Okay. You've gone to mute. I had you rolled up at that point, which is a great number of books. I'm just putting them all together so I can put them into a tweet thread, it seems, that I'm going to be doing. Shadow Fox?
Oh, I thought Myron was going.
Oh, sorry. Myron's next. It's just I saw your hand up. Myron, come back, please.
Yeah, my hand went down. The speaker screwed up, so I redid everything. And then if I go on on mute, it completely screws me up. So I have to stay as if the mic is off or on. I mean, but
Okay,
anyway,
we're making.
it's just part of this technical thing that's going on. I don't know what it is, but I did go out and come back in. So, but I go out and come back in a lot. Couple of things, I think. Now, one of my favorite books from the past is a book called Thomas Merton's Dark Path: An Inner Experience on the Contemplative, and it's by William Shannon. But it's all about Merton and all of his quotes.
Can you just give me that book title again, please?
Yeah, Thomas Merton's Dark Path.
Thank you.
Inner Experience to a Contemplative by William Shannon, Shannon.
Thank you.
And interestingly enough, what he talks about a great deal is Master Eckhart. You probably know who that is. At least I assume you do. Yeah, because Eckhart was always saying, seek God as you never find him. Because I think the point that Eckhart was making is once you seem to have found God, it's not he who you have found. Once you've found God, it is not he, and it is really yourself that you've found. He eludes you, for God is not an object or a thing alongside of other objects and things. God is all whom we can discover only in the experience of not discovering him. Now, of course, that also has to do with another book that I talked about earlier. But I would like to also add another book called Living Time in the Integration of Life by Maurice Nicole. Dr. McCall wrote a kind of comprehensive book.
Hang on. Yeah, these titles are so long that while I'm looking up something else, I have to grab my notepad and come back again. So it's The Living Time.
Yes, Living Time and the Integration of Life. It's by Maurice Nicole, Nicoll.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, basically, I think Nicole was psychologically commentating on the teachings of Gurdjieff and Ouspensky, and that's basically what this book is covering, even though it's pretty comprehensive. It talks about time as a cure for a meaningless of soul, and we live in a narrow reality, partly conditioned by our form of perception and partly made by the opinions that we have borrowed, so on and so forth. I could go on and on into that. But one thing I wanted to talk about was a profound experience that I had just this week that I was very unexpected about lucid dreaming. I know we're not talking about lucid dreaming, but it was shocking how powerful it was. What actually took place was I can't go into all of the details, but it was me, myself, in a very, very dark world, a real world full of real people, and I was doing really terrible things to them and dominating them and hurting them and manipulating them and lying to him, and on it went. It seemed like hours, but of course it wasn't. But the lucid dream was so powerful that when it was over, I was still sort of that personality that that was in the dream itself, that was supposed to be me. So when I went downstairs to meditate, to try to throw off this profound dark part of myself, if that's what it was, I was meditating, and Charon came and told me that what the dream was about, or that it was, she was showing me what I would have become, what this soul would have become if I had not done the work that was required of me daily over the last 70 years, to create a different consciousness and a more enlightened consciousness. If I had not done that, if I had not followed that path, then this person would have been the result. And believe me, you would not want to have met this person. I mean, he was real, he was charming, and he was as evil as he could be. And I've met a lot of people like this. And this particular one, this particular consciousness felt like a welcoming. It was very strange, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in a way. But in this case, what had happened during this time is that I was wondering, what I had actually done and accomplished in the 74 years since I came out of the coma. And, it's hard to measure those things chronologically or spiritually or any other way. And maybe you shouldn't even bother with doing that. But I think that when I was thinking about it and concerned about it, Charon showed me exactly what it would have looked like, what this soul would have looked like had I not done the hard work that I had done over the 74 years. And it was a remarkable revelation. And so whenever you have doubts about what you've accomplished, if you have things, if you have goals or whatever that are spiritually based, you can't always see in the moment what you've done in the totality of your life. And even though most transitions happen almost immediately, they seem like they happen almost immediately, but in point of fact, they happen over a very long period of time. And Maurice Nicole goes into detail about that particular process, and so does Thomas Merton in The Dark Path. And I think that in the final analysis, I don't think any of us really understand objectively what we contribute to ourselves and to others as we go through life, because life is an accumulation of moments, and those moments sometimes slip away into forgetfulness, and so it's hard to judge just how far you've come or how far you haven't come. And of course, when you're with a teacher like I was, where the negative is never judged, the negative is always just, let's do the next thing, let's do the next work, and there's never a negative. You kind of let the negative go as you experience the negative each time you experience it. And so you kind of forget it, you kind of put it in your unconscious somewhere. So I think that this was such a revelation with this lucid dream, or vision, if you want to call it that. I have never seen myself in that particular way, even though I when I was very young, I was very attracted to very dark things. But that's because this soul of mine was very old and needed to be integrated into the light, into the eternal consciousness that I believe in, which is cosmic consciousness. And it was my job to make sure that that happened. And so the journey, which is now ending, or certainly being absorbed into the infinite, is I finally saw the result of all of the years of work that it took for me to integrate and love this dark thing and turn it into a bright, good thing. Merton talks a lot about the dark path, and the dark path, of course, is also true in Buddhism as well as in mysticism, because Merton, even though he was a Catholic, he was also a mystic. And a lot of his books are about dark mysticism and how that dark mysticism can turn into light. And there is the Tai Chi that emulates that. So anyway, to wrap this up, I'm profoundly thankful for the gifts that Charon has given me over the decades of these journeys, and the pure love and the lack of judgments, which is the way love works, which produced this amazing
Every
picture.
time.
And that picture was of a different soul that
like
would
again,
have
Ken, I
existed.
just don't care now. I want to go sleep.
Ian. It's okay. There was a bit of audio issue there, and I was just checking with Ian to see if he heard it or not. Ian.
Canal. Yeah, that was me ranting. Oh my god. Dude, I don't know whether my mic's on or off or what's going on.
Well, today, just keep your lips together, then you won't have any issues of saying anything that you don't want everybody else to hear.
Oh, dude. How much of that did you hear? Sorry, man.
There was probably something about, I want to go to sleep now. I don't know if that's the fact that you just want to run off now or not.
Yeah. That's about it.
Did you want to go? I can let you go.
No, you're all right. I'll manage. I'll try.
Maybe I was boring you.
I don't think you were. I'm just going to have to write down in my co-host good and bad book and see if I deduct a few points, I feel, for shouting that you want to go off and go and sleep somewhere.
Somewhere in the middle of that, I was with you, and then I wasn't, Myron, and I was just like completely lost. And I was like, dude, I'm confused now. I just want to go sleep. Where is Myron taking me with this?
Maybe you got involved with the dark part of it.
Myron, who did you say, what author or what source did you cite when you were talking about darkness turning into light?
Well, that wasn't necessarily an author. That was my spirit guide Charon talking about darkness turning into light. But Thomas Merton talks about turning darkness into light and taking the dark path. And he's a Catholic Jesuit. He's very well known and written maybe 50 books. And he spent the last.
Can you say the name one more time, please, Myron?
Yeah, Thomas Merton, Merton.
It's up in the actual nest. It's one of the last ones I've actually tweeted. There's a group of 3 for the books that Myron's mentioned, so we've got them captured.
Yeah, Merton.
Can you see it, Wiser?
An incredible contemplative gentleman, and he went to Japan and meditated with the Japanese for I think 10 years, and the Vatican allowed him to do that. And when he came out of it, he wrote a profound book on the subject that the Vatican asked that he not publish until 25 years after his death. And because they didn't want him speaking about the inner experience that he had that it was not based in Christianity, and it was based in contemplative mystical experiences. And so he agreed, since he was a Jesuit, that the book would not be published until after his death. And he's a remarkable writer and thinker, and his books on Master Eckhart are just really incredible. And I really recommend anything that he wrote. Even though he was a Christian Jesuit, he was also a mystic that followed the mystical path, which is, where you can go into the dark part, and the dark part leads you to the light part. Because that's what happened to me. When I came out of this coma that I was in darkness. And it took me 74 years of hard work to completely obviate and extinguish that darkness. And it's now gone. And I think I knew that it was over when I could finally forgive everyone in my life who had ever hurt me or ever been involved in anything that hurt me. And that included mothers, fathers, wives, friends, the army, you name it, the governments, anything. I had to forgive everything and all things in order to be free of them. And it took me 50, 60 years to do that. But as soon as I was able to make that transition of forgiveness is the most powerful thing in the universe. Just forgiving yourself first and then everyone else later. So that led me to the heart chakra, which led me to the crown chakra, which I'm just beginning to experience, which is pure light anyway, regardless of how you get there. So that's really that's just a couple of books. I probably have 5,000 books, but I don't want to bore.
Don't mention them all at once. I haven't got enough pencil lead to go through this. Okay, let's just do it slowly.
No, I think we're all right for now. But I mean, some of these guys have written 50, 60 books themselves. So like Merton has written, 60 books. So anyway, so that's my story. I wanted to tell the story about this lucid dream because it was so significant.
Well, it does fit in because we've discussed lucid dreaming before with Krista Meyer and many other people. And again, we've touched on the connections with obviously ancestral dreaming and also other connection points to energy and information. So it's always fascinating that you might have been stretched and put somewhere else and just was piggybacking on somebody else's consciousness at that point.
All I can tell you is it's as real a thing as I've ever experienced in a vision, even though I have visions that are not considered lucid dreaming because of the epilepsy that I have. But this was real. This was a real me doing all these things that I won't even describe to you. They're so horrible. And the pure power of this darkness was unbelievable, that it still was manifesting itself after I woke up. And it took me an hour or two of meditation with Charon to get rid of it, and then to understand why it had been vouchsafed to me in the first place. I mean, why in the world would I have a dream like that or a vision like that when I was not even involved in that kind of thing anymore? And then I got the answer to that, which I just described. So that's my latest rant.
No, thank you for contributing that information. We got most of it down, which is superb. And again, as this is being recorded, we got all of those bits we can go back over and pull up the other bits and see connection points later on in the future. Shadow Fox?
Yeah, oh my goodness. Thank you, Myron. Thank you. There's another book that Lee Two Hawks would also like to give. I don't know if you've jotted this down before or not, but it's Cosmic Consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you guys have it? Okay.
That's a big book. That's been around a long time.
Very long. It was like since.
Can I have the author's name, and then I can see if I've got it on my list? Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we do.
Yeah, Richard. It's Richard Maurice Buck. Bucke.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mentioned it a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so yeah, that's I just don't know all the different books that people have suggested, but yeah, that's one that Lee Two Hawks had also recommended. It was probably one of the first books he had read that really got him interested many moons ago. And the one thing I just like to put out here very quickly, kind of like a housekeeping thing, because there's so many people in the room and people are being drawn from all areas, whether it's researchers, experiencers, all of these mechanisms of people coming together and sharing this information is like, Paul, thank you so very much, just like for hosting this and doing all that, the work that you really do to get this presented to the people. It's like I am just totally in awe at what you do. And I was actually talking to Ian the other night, and we were talking and was saying it was like you truly are like a conductor of this beautiful orchestra, and it's like exactly the rhythms of where everybody is, and it's just like if you can just take that concept for just a moment, this is what Paul offers to everyone here. And I just got to give a great big shout of gratitude. And there is a book that I really would like to recommend, only I am not going to speak about it because the author is in the room, and her name is Eileen, and it's Imaginal Traveler, and I would love to be able to hear from her because the information that she brings forward is like just honestly, it is the vibration with it, the tonal qualities of everything that she offers is just something so beautiful, and I honor her also. So I would like to recommend her book, but if you'd like to find out about her book, then I'll step back, and I'm giving up the mic, guys. But Paul, thank you.
No problem. I mean, thank you very much for saying those things. I mean, it's, as I said before, it wouldn't be anything without the community and the people that wanted to learn and do things. It's just one of those things. And we're so lucky that over these 7 months, it's rapidly expanded. Everyone's nice, everyone's polite. And you've heard me say before, we've probably done about 190 hours of audio, and we've only had 15 minutes of grief, or not even that. And none of that's been a problem. So
well,
it's been
the bus falling off. Come on, this can be comical sometimes.
Oh yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. I mean, lucky enough we can roll with it. We're not having to try and be perfect because we learn through life that you don't have to be perfect. You can get through just being what you know and being genuine, and that's the main thing that we are here. And we just want to make sure that we connect with the right people, in that they want to help people. We move forward, we try and find new bits and pieces, and the great thing about it is along the way you end up making great friendships outside of this community and reach out into other communities and see what happens there, and it's fantastic. So hang on, I'm just my icons have just changed around, so I was just keeping an eyeball for Michael and then going down to Lexi's still here, and then we get to, that's why. So it was Michael, then Brad, and then Lexi. So we get around to that, which is great. And then obviously Imaginal can respond to Shadow Fox at that point, as we know what's going on here. So let's go to, as I said, Michael.
Thanks, Paul. Just on just going from Myron's talk, I thought one thing I've often recommend to people before they put their toe in the pond, so to speak, is to read the channelings by Carla Ruckart called The Law of One Philosophy. You can find that on the web. And I think it was between 1981 and 83 or 4. They did 106 channel things, but it talks about, the negative path and the positive path. And I think it's really important to be aware of the potential of going down the wrong way if your intent's not solid. And I found the readings came the closest to kind of accommodating what I experience. So I pretty well always recommend that to people. I was not going to share this one, but hopefully people are sensible enough in this room. But this is basically where I got my practice from. So it's a secular practice, and it came out of a book called Astral Dynamics by Robert Bruce. So he developed a meditation technique which he called New, which is secular, and basically my own practices evolved out of that. I've never had anyone teach me. I've just done my own research and got information out of books or off the internet, or gained it through my own practice. Some other kind of good background stuff too is I really enjoyed the Robert Monroe books. So Journeys Out of Body was the first one. I forget the other two. And Carlos Castaneda is pretty interesting if you're into more of the more shamanic side of things as well. I can't think of the title of a book offhand, but
The Wheel of Time.
Okay, there you go. That should do for the moment. I'll pass over the mic until I come up with something else.
Thank you for those. I've been getting those down as we go along. And Brad, welcome.
Oh, do you hear me?
Okay, you're quite quiet, but we'll try again.
Do you hear me?
Loud and clear now, which is great. Thank you.
Yeah. The last message that I sent you was Santeria audiobook, and there was a prayer for precognition. You need to politely ask deities to give you a gift of precognition. And my opinion is that precognition happens without asking, and it's a universal thing. And the other thing that I sent you is Medusa Touch, where a film, a boy was trapped by some angry woman during his illness to chant devil, and that made him recognize event. And I think that precognition happens without these things. And if you are a migraine sufferer, you ought to don't. Religion and migraine are incompatible. This is my thought. And another thing, Alan Watts, he has two myths that happened 7,000 years, and one myth is of a vessel, and another myth of full automatization. And it's like Skynet and Matrix were invented 7,000.
Those are really good ones. I have to say that since I normally say who's in the room, which are worthwhile people to go and investigate and follow, obviously Michael Spratt, worthwhile. And again, most of your books that you've mentioned, I've been able to grab down and throw it into the actual shared section. Again, we got 400 drums, always worthwhile going to check them out with their research as well.
Can I state it?
Sorry?
Yeah, I have another statement that I wish to say.
Okay.
When I conspected Terence McKenna lectures into one page, I started experiencing recognition in audio form. Before it was visual, and after I conspected Terence McKenna and just checked that logically it fits all the places, I started experiencing some things, some vocal sounds that will appear 5 years after. Yes, that's it.
Okay, no, it's good that you can actually add this information for us and bring it from another area. Obviously, we have Artisan of the Spirit. Again, her website's coming up soon, again with Lee Two Hawks, always worthwhile to follow. And again, a Imaginal Traveller who will be speaking about herself, and also she will be here, if you didn't hear, on August the 4th, which will be good at 7 p.m. UK time. We also have Greybeard, who's one of the long-term community people, as well as Lexi, Fred, Myron. Myron, you should go and look at his work, which is on all one word, myrondahl.com. And also you have Fred, always worthwhile checking him out. Miro's always been a community member here. And 33, nice to see you here as well. And also we've got Amber is back, which is nice to see. I know that you're elsewhere. And it's really nice to see all these new people that are coming in, and hopefully you're finding the information of use. And again, if you want to see the other kind of roundtables we do have, you can find them under the website address, all one word, perceptionstoday.com. Again, that will have all the events that we're having, different places, whether it be Zoom, Twitter Space. You also find the YouTube channel. You also find our mailing list, which is best to get on if you want to know about when these events are going, because we'll email them out. And also we have a contact form if you want to just send in information to us as well. And we're very accommodating to people coming in and talking to anyone, because it seems to be a very nice, friendly space. Don't you say, Ian?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Apart from me yelling and screaming every now and then.
Well, little outbursts always make it comical, which is good. So, Lexi.
Oh, hi, Paul. I was just trying to find actually the author of the book. I had read back when I had started my spiritual studies at a younger age. It was called Facing the Dragon. And I think it was Facing the Dragon, or like The Dragon Within, or something like that. And I think it was by I honestly can't remember.
Was it Robert L. Moore?
Yes, that is the one.
Right.
Thank you.
So,
I knew it was
Facing the
Robert
Dragon,
something.
Confronting Personal and Spiritual Grandiosity. So I'll put that one up in the nest once I pull all the details.
Yeah. So I thought of it actually when Myron was talking about his vivid dream that he had the other day, and how when I was exploring my own spirituality within myself, and learning the power of, you know, light and dark energy, and how both very much exist within myself, and how I just, relating to Myron at a younger age, I was into a lot of really like dark things. I don't know if it's because I was raised super religious and I rebelled or whatever, or because I early heard trauma or whatever, but either way, I experienced like the energies of, you know, darkness and light. And when I had read this book, it really made me go within myself. It was I'm sorry, it's been a while. It's been quite a while. But when I studied that one, that one definitely made me look within myself, and it deals with our self-confidence and our self-conscious, like being like crushed or tampered with at an early age, and how that, you know, as a ripple effect affects you throughout life. And yeah, that was something that I had read quite a few years back. So if it's not good anymore, please let me know, because I can't remember word for word, but I do remember it helped me a lot. Not that I don't think Myron needs, you know, I mean, obviously. Anyways,
I've put it up in the nest for you, so it's up there, so people can get to see that one. So if anybody wants any of the links that are up there, just go to the Perception Today account and just keep looking down, and you will find loads of books and other information, like the different films which are being suggested as well from people. So I'm putting them up as fast as I can at this present time. So, Ian, I think it's Imaginal next, then 400 Drums, yes?
Yep, you're absolutely bang on the money. That's who we've got
Excellent.
next.
I'm spinning plates, haven't dropped one yet, so that's good. Eileen, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. And you're doing very well, Paul. I also thank you for creating this space. And for everyone who comes into this space and shares. There are times when I don't feel like talking. And I sit back and I listen to the music of all of what each of you shares here. And it's such sweet music today. And so thank you for that. I've gotten so much from, just in resonance with so many of you. And Shadow Fox, thank you so much for mentioning my book. And you have to, you're always expressing your gratitude and that sweetness everywhere you go. So I very much appreciate you. And Myron, I always love hearing your perspective because I feel so much resonance with you. I think we have kind of similar paths in the, not so much the spaceships in the sky, but the inner contact. In fact, my book is called Koyopa Contact Within. And it's all about my direct experiences with this intelligence that isn't necessarily appearing or contacting us through a vehicle in the sky. And I think a lot of people get pretty attached to, that those two things go hand in hand, and they do not. So when I first started reading, an abundance of books, 30, 40 years ago, I couldn't find myself and my experiences in those books, though I did find a lot of resonant data. I found some validation here and there. But when you're a direct experiencer, a lot of times you're just desperately seeking some kind of mirroring or validation in what other people write. So you can just kind of have this feeling of, okay, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. The one book that I read in 1991 was John Mack's book, Abduction. It was this book that helped me to feel like I could keep going, right? Like the experiences of the people that he was in dialogue with, the experiencers, so much of what they experienced, I could relate to. And because he was so unconditional and so welcoming of the experiencer, which I hadn't really seen so much of, that book will always be a treasure to me. And there's so much has changed, of course, over the years. But in 1998, when I had the Kundalini experience, everything went super inward. So I had to reorient to a different, an entirely different way of perceiving. And I feel this is what Myron is often speaking to from his perspective. And we have a lot of intersections, Myron and I have noticed. So I couldn't read anymore. I haven't read for about 20 to 25 years because I've been trying to, I'm in constant reading of the beings around me, in the presence, with the natural world, with other people. I'm constantly getting data about people and about their fears and about, if they ask me, I can tell. I mentioned that because the data starts to come from inside instead of outside in books. So, you know, lots of wonderful books, lots of amazing information out there, which brings me to the one book I have not read, but I listened to on Audible, and I'm so grateful for audio versions of books, because I find I can't read very well anymore. I just can't pay attention to the linear words on a page. I need to absorb it. I need to immerse myself, like a podcast recently. So I purchased an Audible account, and the book is Origins of the Gods. It's a brand new book, and I wanted to understand why I feel so connected to the land and why the land speaks to me. And I always knew that the connection to the earth was primary in cosmic connections. There's who spoke about the anchoring of the pineal gland? I'm sorry, someone.
That was Two Hawks, Lee Two Hawks, as in Shadow Fox's.
Oh, wonderful!
Husband.
Thank you, Lee. Because this is what I want to talk more about on August 4th. Is this this intelligence is coming to awaken us and to reorient us to our natural state. And this is part of it. It's like reorienting to this, activating these dormant technologies within us, which they have done for me. And I'm witness to others that this is happening for, including Myron. So this is something that I'm fascinated by the researchers, the chasm that we're bridging between the researchers, the scientists, the physicists, and the actual direct experiencers. Not that everyone isn't an experiencer, because they are. It's just that some of us are in memory of this. We are becoming lucid with these other aspects of our consciousness at this timing. And it's possible for everyone to step into this. This isn't about special people with special gifts. It's about demonstrators who are demonstrating these gifts that we do have. And it's important that we approach that with, celebration, that this isn't about some person having something greater than us. It's about, oh my God, look what they're demonstrating that all human beings possess and can access. So I think that's everything that I could go on and on.
Tell them your website and where your book is so they can look.
Oh, my book is on Amazon.com. I do not promote it. I do not talk about it hardly ever, and so it's there. It's
everybody. Forget what you heard for the last 5 minutes. Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
Sort that problem out.
Yeah, she may not, but I will definitely say, absolutely awesome. And Eileen, I will say that there's so many things that you have just spoken about, and even some of the experiences that you share, just like, even with what Myron is speaking about, both Lee Two Hawks and I are literally right there with you. It's almost as if it's like, my goodness, it's like, after all these years of feeling that isolation, and now it's more information is coming forward, more people are speaking about out about this, and it's just absolutely fantastic, and I am just truly grateful to really just touch base with you again. Honestly, it is it feels like home.
It does. It does. Thank you. I feel exactly the same way, Shadow Fox. And this is happening more and more. It's going to be an explosion now of people stepping forward now and saying, okay, it's time. I'm not going to pretend to be anything I'm not. I know I wanted to mention Iridescence, but I don't think he's still here. I just checked a while ago, but I really, I hope he listens to this later, because I just wanted to say, lovely being, lovely human, speaking his truth and rediscovering the truth about who he is, and having the courage to stand in that and begin to demonstrate and radiate that, because isn't that the job of so many of us now? This is why we're here.
Oh, definitely.
To radiate this, and we each come to the table with our own unique gifts, right? I wouldn't be able, I don't want to do Paul's Perceptions Today's task here. I'm not very good at that, of the organizing and everything, and so I'm so grateful when this is what you love to do. You know, if we all followed our passions, we'd all come together and fill in all the blanks, and it'd be like, oh, thank God you're here. I don't have to do that part anymore, you know? We've all been trying to carry all of this, right? To what you were speaking to, Shadow Fox. We've all been kind of waiting and carrying our load and hiking up the hill. And it's like, I know I just need to keep going. I just keep going and keep being who I am, keep speaking the truth. And it's all going to make sense, right? And it is. It is making sense now. So thank you.
You know,
all.
something you said about your experiencing, and that is that after a while, after reading so many books and things, at some point you have to put the books away and become the Buddha yourself. You have to take the journey yourself, and just reading about other people's experiences and what they think and what they experience is not going to do it. What's going to do it is the hard work of the meditation itself, of the inner life itself, and connecting to that inner life and inner light. If you don't do that, you're just reading a lot of books, and it's fun to read those books, and I've read thousands of them, but at some point it's like kill the Buddha. You have to become the Buddha, and the only way to do that is to find it in yourself and find it on the road, on the path that you're on. And if you don't get there, then you've just read a lot of books. And even though the books are wonderful, and they are, they're not the final path. The path is within you, and if you don't find it there, you're not going to find it anywhere, and especially in any books. So as much as I love reading, and I do read all the time, and then I do all my art, of course, but the fact is that inner life is, I left the church just to find my own way, my own inner life. And I think that that's really essential for true insight and experience and becoming one with cosmic consciousness. You can't find that in a book unless you experience it outside of the book. And I think that's essential. And I think what you said is really right on the money. So thank you for your contribution. I really liked what you said.
Yeah, Myron, it's kind of like reading like a romance novel or a love story. We can read all that, and it can be entertaining, right? But in order to step into that life and recognize and have your own experience with that, with a love affair, for instance, or just falling in love with someone. So there's a great difference of stepping into our own beingness, living that life. If we're learning something from a book, then by all means, step out and try it out. see how it works for you, or find those people that can help you get there or trigger something in you as that remembrance. And I do believe it's that part of our own beingness, our own livingness, our own lovingness that really is. It's like, yeah, you can read a great novel, but to live it is so much different. So great points, guys. Oh my goodness. I am just honored. Wow, I love it.
It is amazing. I have a quick question for Imaginal, but she's also got the mic now, so Amber can ask you the quick question before we get on to the next people. Amber?
Hey, yeah. Sorry, my random question, I DM'd you, but I also DM'd Paul because I was like, I don't know who's going to see it first. Do you remember when 1998 you had that experience?
Oh, I just see a bunch of notifications right now. Sorry.
No worries.
When it was October 1st, 1998.
October what?
31st.
Oh, on Halloween.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I was just curious because my heart surgery was in 1998 when I had my out of body experience thing.
Oh,
and
wow.
So when you said that year, I was like, oh, that's an important year for me. Now I'm trying to remember when the date was. I just know it was a Friday the 13th. And I just looked it up and there was 3 of them that year. And so I'm pretty sure it was the one in November, but I like texted my mom and I was like, Mom, when exactly was that? So I don't know why. I just think it's the synchronicities are just pretty cool.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Thank you.
Excellent. We'll get over to 400 drums, 33, then bread. Then I think Coco Bean has disappeared. Nope. No, she has disappeared. Okay, maybe she'll come back again.
Love the discussion today. I've been in and out because I keep rugging and I had to run a bunch of errands, but I've really appreciated a lot of what was talked about. I wanted to mention a few books that are at this point probably slightly tangential to some of
Please do it slowly.
Pardon?
My pen. Just mention them slowly so I get the chance to write them down.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be kind of tangential. It connects to a lot of what's been talking about, but I've just been weaving in and out, so I can't directly pin it as related to what's already been talked about. So I wanted to mention first, at least in terms of Myron and some of his lucid dreaming. I've been lucid dreaming for pretty much my whole life. I had like severe insomnia when I was in high school that actually, though I wasn't like sleeping, it taught me how to lucid dream really well because I would immediately drop into dream states when I was able to sleep. But later in life, I came across an author, Robert Moss. He's an Australian guy who used to write like a lot of crime books and then started having these series of lucid dream kind of experiences and completely went into research and understanding of lucid dreams and writing books around them. So there's a book called Conscious Dreaming by Robert Moss. It's really unbelievable. And it's kind of like shamanic and other cultural practices of dream work. So he worked with Iroquois Dreamtime shamans in Canada. He worked with Australian Aborigines who work on Dreamtime stuff. He worked with Tibetan Buddhists who do dream yoga and other cultures and have kind of weaved them into this kind of shamanic dream practice. And he talks a lot about how like drumming, he like in the book, he talks about using drumming to induce certain brainwave states and that you can actually go back into visionary lucid dream states and these kind of things through some of these methods with drums and stuff like that. And he mentions Michael Harner, who was he's died I think like a year or two ago, who kind of helped repopularize or popularize in media shamanic drumming cultures and how powerfully that can affect consciousness for dreaming, for vision states, and the interrelation of all these. So I wanted to mention that because dreams have certainly been some of my, like I've done a lot of meditation and had a lot of meditation experiences and psychedelic experiences, and all obviously different in intensities and levels of insight. But the dream ones and the meditation ones, all of them have been unbelievably powerful just from that definite access from the self into these kind of experiences. So I wanted to mention those because it's a really good text to be able to find other ways of working, not just with dreams themselves, but how to kind of further come to more abilities to access some of these insights. And then the other author that I wanted to mention that kind of relates to some of the UFO inner outer talk that we were talking about, and Terence McKenna and such to some degree. Probably the most interesting book that I've read, just for like the kind of scope of it. It's called Xenolinguistics, Psychedelics, Language, and the Evolution of Consciousness by Diana Reed Slattery.
Are you doing that on purpose, just because I have to write something and get it all down in one with all the big words?
I'll DM you at the same time.
I appreciate that.
Xenolinguistics, psychedelics. Can I do it at the same time? Psychedelics, language, and the evolution of consciousness.
Oops.
He's just been dropped for doing too much of the same thing, which is not good. But has he just come back? That'd be good if he has come back. There he is. He's back again. We've got him back, and hopefully.
So what's really cool about this book is I feel like it's a little bit of an interweaving of a lot of these topics that we've touched on, from UFOs, inner outer, also somewhat on just being taught from consciousness at large to some degrees, and the way that she talks about coming across, quote unquote, the other, that personifies itself and is able to teach her through her experiences. So she is someone who over, I think, 11 years or something, did an unbelievable amount of psychedelic journeys by herself, but all with the exact same intention of connecting with the other, that she termed it, and getting learnings from it. And what she learned how to do is there are some practices that people use of like channeling or whatever, where you can do automatic writing and automatic drawing. And as some of you know, when you're deep in a psychedelic state, it can be very difficult to do any kind of translating into writing. So she learned how to let the trip like write in her arm while she was experiencing states. And the book is all about her interaction with these, or this consciousness, these consciousnesses, these wider unincorporated intelligences, and the kind of insights that come from these understandings. And it's really unbelievable. And I think it matches really well, both with what Myron was saying about the UFO inner outer, but also with some of these experiences like Chiron and stuff like that to some capacity. So I wanted to just mention that, because I don't know many other people who have read either of those books, but especially the Diana Reed Slattery one. And I'd be very curious over time to hear what other people experience or resonations with this are. So she did all these psychedelic experiences, and before she did them, she wrote a book called, I think it's called The Maze Game, and it's a fiction book. And in this book, there is a language called a glide, and the characters of the book have to do this interesting game or dance over these blue lotus kind of lily pads. And in the dance, they are doing the language almost through sign language, kind of in this interesting way. And the author thought to herself, okay, this is actually some kind of legitimate language in its own right. So she started to meditate and think of it in some altered states. And the entire language was downloaded into her in an instant, like people talk about being downloaded things on psychedelics or meditation states. So she had this download, and the next 10 years of experiences was her kind of uncoding or decoding what this means, with the guidance of the other intelligence, whatever. And she was able to codify an entire like fourth dimensional language called glide. And part of the idea is we kind of live in temporally in the third dimension. And the idea is our writing is very linear from A to B, sentence structure, all this to convey ideas. We are third dimensional entities writing in the second dimension. So the concept is that a higher dimensional entity, like a fourth dimensional entity, their language would be third dimensional. So she came across this language that works three-dimensionally, and it's a non-linear, interesting language, and I can't really describe it more than this because you got to read the book. But it's related to how sometimes if you're on psychedelics or different kinds of altered states, you can see living language flowing over everything. And this is kind of like a a decoding of what these language scripts may mean, and how to actually weave and work with it to utilize the capabilities that you can learn in some of these altered states. So sorry for the long ramble, but yeah, wanted to mention that book.
No, it all goes well and helps explain everything. So that's now in the shared section. And of course, whoever I get the right things together, I will try and put their name on the end of the tweet who's put the book, so that other people can reference back on that and go and talk to those people that have read it before and ask further questions if they want to. So we're going from there, which is nice. And obviously on my...
Hey, Paul, real quick before we go to the next, Lee said that there's a book, it's Mutant Message. Down Under, it's by Marlo Morgan, M-O-R-G.
I thought that's what you heard from Ryan when he said something. I thought this was some kind of joke that you were putting in there, but no, I'll try and find that book.
No, because this is what they were describing. Lee can tell you about this. The woman. Go ahead, tell him about.
Anyhow, as a researcher, a female, went down to Australia, ended up in the trying to find the Aborigines, which she did find. They taught her about lucid dreaming, about dreaming. They taught her about traveling beyond the boundaries of the earth, et cetera, things you have to do and prepare yourself for to do that. And it was just a marvelous indication of what is possible in a consciousness that's open to receive.
So that is Mutant Messages Down Under by Marlo Morgan, yeah?
Yes, correct.
Right, I found it. Excellent.
Yep. Okay. Sorry.
That's awesome.
I just wondered what the apples had to do with it, and it was all getting very confusing at that point when I was reading that message, because I thought you thought Ryan had said that title, and I thought, no, it didn't sound anything like it.
I didn't have the author's name, and so Lee Tuox ran to go find the book, and because it was like, oh my goodness, and so I was messaging you, like, trying to get the book. So now I have the author, so that's why we spoke.
What I'm really glad about you mentioning with that is one thing that I wanted to mention with Robert Moss that I think feeds in perfectly to what you're saying is one of his experiences that he had that made him start really researching dream work is he had an experience where he either became an eagle or was being taught by an eagle. I think he became an eagle, and he was communing with a shaman, an Iroquois shaman in Canada from the 16 or 1700s. And at first, it was a dream series. And at first in the dream series, he was not able to communicate really well with the shaman because of the language barrier of Iroquois to English. And the time gap. So over a series of dreams as an eagle, he was taught some of the Iroquois language by this shaman in the 1700s. And in real life, he later went to study with Iroquois people around their shamanism, and he would be using some of their language, and some of them would say that is a cultural word, but we haven't used that in 300 years. So he was able to tap into something almost like a cross-temporal dream state where he was able to connect with another conscious entity from another quote-unquote time, but time is probably different than we imagine anyways. So I just wanted to mention that aspect in relation to what you just said, Shadow Fox, because I think that's a really interesting connection.
No, that works. That book is now up in the shared section and been tweeted out, and obviously it's got your name attached to it, which is great. I know that we have a few more people with their hands up, which is great, because I mean, the amount of information we've compiled this evening, when you just look down the number of lists, I'm sure we've got up to 40 easily with what we've been putting out. And we're having, obviously, there's not many people watching live at the moment on YouTube, but you never know what will happen in the future with that one. And of course, this one will be edited and changed into an audio podcast to go up on Anchor and the 9 other platforms it's on. So I know that it's 33 next, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah, that's right.
And then Brad, then Coco Bean hasn't returned as far as I can tell.
And then Lexi.
And Lexi, excellent, superb. So welcome, long time no see, 33.
Yes, blessings to everybody. It's been a while, been enjoying listening. One of the things, when I first came on your platform, I think you're awesome. And I'm running into some other people, and they say hi things. As a matter of fact, we I just found that interview. I'm about to watch it. I forget the gentleman's name, but anyway, that's not what I really came to speak about. I just want to say hello to all the people that I've become friendly with and few that aren't here. You know, I've been down this really spiritual road, and a lot of the things that you guys are talking about, you know, resonate. And I do read a lot, you know, magic, you know, hermeticism and alchemy and, you know, ancient history. I've become an anthropologist and, you know, the downloads are incredible. And, you know, which I just wanted to say that I've had some misunderstandings with some of this interactions because somehow there's been some things that have happened to me. You know, this is a generational thing for me. My father was a yogi, and amongst many other things in the occult. And so, you know, there's this thing, you know, a generational attachment, you know, and, you know, so you have to put some shadow work in and, you know, and, you know, using those psychedelic experiences that I've had, you know, after my ego death and repeated. And, you know, I've never had some of those experiences that people talk about. Like, I mean, I've had some, you know, you know, but it's been like so real. And it's almost like they've downloaded so much information that I've actually got to the point where I've got some real answers. And that's, you know, interesting because I'm 58, you know, and, you know, to kind of have an understanding. And it gives you some comfort, and all of this information that you guys are talking about here is so helpful. And that's been one of the problems. How much can you read? You know, and I think I'm a pretty smart guy, and I'm like, man, you know what? There's got to be a way to get this information and to communicate. And you know, sometimes you don't even know who you're communicating with, and so that's you attract everybody. So I just wanted to say thank you, and it's really nice to see you guys. I'm not going to take any more time, but I am documenting everything I've been through, and you know what, all the suffering in my entire life. You know what you know, my abilities, that my life, past lives, whatever reincarnations. You know, I'm actually accessing that, and you're right. Third dimensional, you know, is lower frequency thinking. And raising, once you have your ego death and you realize that emotions are really just useless, it's okay to feel a certain way, but not to use that energy, you know, because there's things called looshing, and, you know, that's how they survive. And, you know, if you talk about consciousness, the overall consciousness in this country, in this world, is negative because of fear and because of, you know, stress, and because, you know, they're under magic. And, you know, this consciousness, it can grow from a heart-based empathy, you know, thought. You know, that's the only way we can kind of conquer that. So anyway, thank you. Blessings.
Oh no, it's great that you've been able to have time to come back and talk. Because I mean, again, you've been a long time part of the community, coming back and give us your experiences. And again, a lot of people have to go through that growth from what we've seen. That you have to go through really strange times, and it's fascinating to me for those people that can have, let's put it on a graph, kind of an X and a Y, that can have that constant flat, placid kind of environment of a line that's just horizontal and don't have any upsets or anything else. And when I've come across that, I don't know whether you learn anything from life or not. I think the ups and the downs are key. But again, that's just, I'm going to have to open it up to the floor at some point and have a conversation about that. But again, as Ian will say, he's happy to converse with everybody here, aren't you?
I just want to add one last thing, is because, you know, really people have to understand that you know, magic's a real thing, right? And people get it all wrong. It's, you know, the ability to rewire your brain, tame that subconscious. And so when they can keep you, especially when they violate you as a child, to keep you in a low vibration, you know, it takes the work, man. And you know, many years of work. And so it can be done. And with all this other stuff, everybody can heal themselves. And so that's all I wanted to say. And I'll come back and share more. But everybody had so much to offer, so I just wanted to drop a few gems, and hopefully that resonated with somebody.
Oh, I'm sure it will. I mean, Ian, are you still there, or have you fallen asleep yet?
No, I'm still here.
I haven't heard you rant for a while, so I just wanted to check in on you to make sure everything's okay.
No, I'm extremely paranoid now, dude.
Don't worry, I'll shoot you a message if I suddenly hear your mic, or I'll mute you myself. So hopefully someone's got a microwave going on at this present time, or they're reversing the lorry, one of the two, which will be going on. We're off to Brad now.
Yeah, how do you hear me?
I hear you very well, and it's really good that you're keeping a nice stable connection.
Yeah. When I had my head injury, I didn't experience amnesia, but rather I experienced a lot of energy coming from my spine. I don't know whether it is Kundalini. And after that, people told me that I was.
So, Brad, would you like to ask Imaginal, because she might actually be able to tell you whether or not, if it fits the kind of criteria?
I will finish
okay.
Reporting.
No problem. Carry on.
After that, I was reported by parents or friends that I was 4 days in a coma, but in reality, I never lost consciousness during. I appeared for other people in coma, but I stayed, and in times I think I ended with the time dilation, but I'm not quite sure. Let's ask.
Imaginal, are you there?
Tremendous.
feel this and stepping forward, because it is that part of trust. And I think that's that hurdle of stepping forward. And I think once we kind of grasp a hold of that, trusting ourselves a little bit, more and more of us unfold to ourselves. So
Absolutely, perfectly said, Shadow Fox, and that's what these conversations are about. You could say, and I've said this often, I come into these spaces and I wrote the book and I wrote the music. I wrote just like a fiend writing all of this, because I'm giving to my old self what I needed. I had none of this, none of it. So I'm giving it out now so that people can know that they're not alone, and they can feel, they can hold their head high, and carry themselves, with, self-respect and self-love, in this world. And I just want to encourage everybody to step into this. And yeah, the time is over now of apologizing for who we are. That's over, done. It's time to rise to it and be it now.
oh, absolutely. And by the age of 6, I had 2, and it was absolutely a fascinating experience, all in the same. And when I was 6 years old, I never saw the world the same way everybody else does. Everything was in energy. Everything was in patterning. And I just must say that we have information, we have a message to share as a reminder, because that's all it is triggering that remembrance that we. I just oh my goodness, I am just grateful for being in here, and wondering if Paul's up and ready now.
I'm back and running now. I haven't heard anything since I was doing things, but oddly enough, the live stream didn't crash, which is good. It was just StreamYard and the room, so it's all going on. If anything was said in between time, is there anything I need to note down that I need to eliminate from the audio podcast, or are we all happy still with the recording going to obviously YouTube and also to my own personal podcast, etc.?
Oh yeah, we're all good from at least my side, because it was just Eileen and I that were speaking.
Yeah,
most part.
Excellent. That's good. Oh no, I just want to make sure I don't want to make anyone fall into a pit and go, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that." Did anyone hear back from Ian?
I think that he let me back in the room, because I got kicked when this thing crashed. I got kicked out. I think he
got kicked out as well and had to rebuild a new one. It was all going very funny. Right. Okay. So let's see. I've got messages from Ian, which I shall have to quickly read. So see what he's got. He says, I got no mic. It says, but I have no mic privileges. I've reset everything and it's not working. Okay, so he's having trouble. I'm going to remove him as a co-host.
Yeah, and Paul, it won't.
And then I'm going to knock him down to listener.
Yeah, it won't.
Sorry.
Take co-host either.
Right. Okay.
Invite, but I can't accept it as a co-host. There's nothing to accept.
I couldn't even get in here with my 400 Drums account. I had to go on my personal one. Twitter rugs. So fun.
Well, so far we're surviving, which is good. And the people that wanted to come back, it's nice to see you all here. Let's see if I can get Ian back to the top section. Well, maybe if I can see his icon, he's now disappeared entirely.
No, he's still there.
There he is. I had my thumb on him. That's why. Yeah, I had my thumb on him. That's why I couldn't spot him, which is no good. Where are we? Just looking at that. So let's see if he gets back up. He's slowly getting there. Ian? Shoot me a message if you...
Yeah, sorry. I was having some horrific issues with Twitter right then. I don't know what the problem was.
Sending you the co-host invite now.
Okie dokie.
I'm just getting back in track with all the messages that have been flying and going, where are you? And I didn't know. I was too busy between everything. Excellent. Right.
Has everyone managed?
You can blame all this on Musk.
Sorry, Myron?
I said, you can blame all this on Musk.
No, don't get me to edit things out. I'm trying to make it nice and easy for myself. Oh, my hand won't go down either. That's interesting. How do I get my hand down now? Oh, you have to take it off yourself.
My whole trip has just been horrible, dude. Absolutely horrible. Like the mic keeps popping on and off. Like I couldn't get emoticons, then I could, then the screen wasn't working properly, then I couldn't get it to shut down. Like I quit out of everything and it was still running in the background. Like it was completely gone.
Okay, right.
Maybe it's sunspots.
Maybe. I'm just definitely going to test people's audio before we go back to the people that are having questions. So I know that we've got Clint that's just joined us for the first time, just if he wants to check his audio.
Hey, how are you, Paul? And everyone.
Ah, excellent. You made it from one room to the next. That's good. So that works. Now, let's see. Lexi, you got your audio still?
I'm here.
Good. And we know Brad. Brad, you okay with your audio? I know we're halfway through talking to you.
Yeah, have a conversation. I want to ask more questions.
Yeah, we're going to get back to you. I just want to check one more. JC, haven't had the opportunity to say hello to you yet.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going very well. Audio's good. That means we can get back on track. So we'll go back with Brad talking to Imaginal, I think, was where it all went wrong from there on in. Over to yourself, Brad.
Yeah, Eileen, I have a question. Have you experienced eureka moments in your life, and is it similar to your experience? For example, in a novel, Hannibal Lecter depicted eureka like being shot out of catapult. Yeah, the question is your Kundalini similar to eureka, if you ever experienced it?
That's an interesting question. I would say that I would relate to the word, not in a biblical sense, but the word revelations, where it seems like your third eye is just blossoming open, and all of a sudden everything, it's like, oh, I get it. Oh, it just starts to fill in the blanks. So I don't know if that relates to Hannibal Lecter and Eureka, but that is my personal feeling of that, perhaps where your word might intersect with the word I use.
Yes.
Anyway,
yes. What?
I'm sorry I just wanted to say that I was going full steam when we all got booted out, and I just went, oh my God. And the REM song came to mind. Oh no, I've said too much.
You can repeat it again if you want.
Oh no, I've said too much. I haven't said enough.
Now,
anyway.
next line is losing my religion.
Yeah.
I have gotten to the same place as I was reading a book where there was Alhambra, a word that was repeated over and over, and just reading the book, I get to the same place. And also, I can get to the same place when I hear Hungarian hymn, where there are two Russian insults, slurs, anti-Hungarian, that are just blessings and get back to your grandma in translation. I will send Paul the link to this hymn.
They're not things I have to cut out, are they, Brad? They're not that severe as comments, as insults, are they? You mentioned that there was a couple of insults that...
Yeah, they sound like insults, but they are the translation doesn't mean it. So
Okay, that's good then. That's
both
fine.
are slurs if they don't mean them.
I just don't want things going out there insulting people, and I haven't got an idea, the kind of thing that could happen. Just keeping it all on the straight and the narrow.
Well, anyway, I just want to say I hope anything that I shared might have been helpful. It's hard to remember where I left off, but people tend to categorize the Kundalini experience as, A, B, C, D, E, F. These are the steps, to what happens. And just like anything else, just like any mystical experience, it's very personal. And it occurs in your own way, and you relate to it in your own way. And it's for you personally. The key is to engage with it directly. You are now connected. If you've had the authentic, experience of connectivity, you are connected now. And so it's important that we begin to engage with it and respect it, and ask for help, ask for guidance, talk about what's real. This is the dialogue that the beings taught me through my contact. This is the practice that they taught me about how to engage so that we can always keep this connection and expand this connection, and then help others remember the connection as well.
Yeah.
Excellent.
How does that mortal body go to that connection? Sorry.
I didn't.
So can I?
Clint,
how
right.
does it,
Okay.
Sorry, mate. I just wanted to ask how, the mortal body makes that connection.
Is that a question to Imaginal? Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it is.
No, it's okay. Sometimes without pointing out the right people, I just have to try and figure out who sometimes it's directed to. So yeah, Ron's point.
So what was the question?
How does it, say, the mortal body connect to that energy? If you suspect it's there.
Yeah, it's powerful. The way it connects to the body, it helps you remember that the body is not a meat sack like people refer to it. It is a communication device. It's a musical instrument. And when this energy reconnects with us, it lights it all up. And we begin, as I was saying earlier, we begin to adapt to it again. We begin to remember that we have this technology within us. It is a very physical event. This is not in the mind or just imagination. It is a full bioenergetic event that then ignites the imaginal realms, the connection to the imaginal realms. And you find yourself in the driver's seat. You find yourself as a director of your own life. And this is what's possible for us now.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's not a problem.
Comment that on that just for a second before
we
switch topics. I don't need to, if not, don't worry.
Well, hang on. No, you can. I just know that Lexi and also JC are in the list for answering, unless it's very on point for Imaginal and Clint.
Yeah, it was specifically around the Kundalini thing, so I just wanted to mention before
okay.
the topic switch.
Then we get to Lexi. No, don't leave us hanging.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know if the others were gonna, if they had something to say on it. That I wanted to let.
I know that we do comedy routines on here on a regular basis. That's kind of the way that we operate. Let's try and get it all together. Here we go.
I wanted to mention in terms of exactly what you're saying with Kundalini and Kundalini experiences, emergences, and stuff. How this is a full mind-body experience where your mind is kind of actually connecting to the energetic system of your body for the full mind, body, spirit kind of connection. But there is a really, really interesting guy who I don't know if he has like a bunch of books around it, but he does a lot of work in the medical, almost like diagnosing of some of this, because there's a lot of people who, as they're going through Kundalini experiences, end up in the emergency room. People think they're psychotic. They think they're psychotic. They don't know what's going on because of this crazy amount of energy, spinal and body movements that they don't feel responsible for from this energy. And there's this guy, Daniel Ingram. He is an emergency medicine doctor, but he is he calls himself an arhat in a Buddhist lineage, which essentially means that he has gotten to full awakening. But with this, he's started to codify spiritual emergence in a way that can start to be like, I don't like saying the word medically diagnosed, but medically diagnosed in a way where people in hospitals and stuff like that will be able to characterize these things in a way that they're not being pathologized into the psych ward or whatever, but that they can be connected to spiritual practitioners who can help them transition and deal with the spiritual emergence that's going on. Because some of these Kundalini experiences can last a week, a day, 6 months, depending on how you are grounded in tradition, in different kind of practices and stuff. So I just wanted to mention Daniel Ingram. He has been on quite a few podcasts and may have some books. He has, I think, 3 or 4 episodes on the Deconstructing Yourself podcast, talking about the fire casina method.
I have found,
and a whole bunch of other practices. I just wanted to mention him if anyone was curious a little bit more around Kundalini, spiritual emergence, and some of those things.
I have found, and you'll be able to confirm for me, he's got the Arising and Passing Away Integrated Daniel, and it's integratedDaniel.info. So I think that must be the same guy, which I can put out there.
Also,
Perfect.
real
Yeah, I think that
quickly,
is his website.
when Milarepa was going through his transformation, his Kundalini transformation, he was considered totally insane, and most of the 10 years he spent in this transformation, he was virtually incapable of functioning in the normal world. And then he came out of it and he became the Milarepa that everybody knows about in Hindu tradition. And so, yeah, when you're playing around with Kundalini, it can be very powerful on the body. That is for sure.
Very much
Certainly
so.
has been with me. Certainly has been with me.
I want to thank you, Myron, and so true. I want to acknowledge what Ryan has shared. I am just overjoyed and relieved that someone is coming forward in this way to be a bridge, between these events and, the quote normal world. So that's wonderful, wonderful news to hear of that. And I have heard his name before. Yeah, and I just want to say something about the. Sometimes what I found is that when people mentally want to have a Kundalini experience, like I really want this, and they mentally force it, but the body, the emotions, the feminine is not quite integrated. The trauma work, the shadow work. If this is not coming along at the same timing and in the same vibration as the mental, this can force the energy to release, and that is very dangerous. So people need to know that it is a process. It is a dialogue with soul. It's a dialogue with source, or whatever you want to call it. It's a partnership. This is not something that you mentally decide is going to happen in the way that you think it should, right?
Absolutely right.
No, that's right on point with all the information. And again, Ryan, is he still here? He looks like he's been pulled. Or is he around? I managed to put it up into the shared section, and hopefully people will get some information from that. Lexi?
Hey, So before we wrote, I saw that there was a lot of new people in the room, and I'm not sure if it was Michael or somebody else who had mentioned shamanic breathwork. And just like also looping around to just kind of touching for a second on what was just spoken about. I had worked in emergency services for 8 years and psych for 2, my last 2, and a lot of people that would come in with spiritual experiences or any kind of you know they would honestly, there was a lot of misdiagnosis as far as like when it came to spirituality and diagnosing people as, with psychosis or schizophrenia or, something involving hallucinations when you first start your spiritual journey. And I'd watched that for a long time. And so when I went on my spiritual journey in the beginning, it wasn't until later when I studied psych that I understood, the brain psychology and how it all connects together. But putting that aside, like I said, someone had mentioned earlier shamanic breathwork, and I think as far as bridging the gap between our physical bodies and how to get to a spiritual awakening is all related to the process of opening your third eye and being awake. And so looping back before I get too off the track, one of the books that I had read before I had actually done my first shamanic breathwork session, it was called Shamanic Breathwork: Journeying Beyond the Limits of Self by Linda Starwolf. And my aunt actually studied under her for I think at least 15-20 years, and she studied under Dr. Groff, and he so that book actually I think it actually came with a CD that you can listen to and understand. But as far as anybody who's interested in that, that was my first actual I had never really tried psychedelics before that, but that was my first kind of psychedelic journey, and that was all strictly through breath work and through the frequencies of the drum patterns. And then we had sitters, and we had people who were there doing Reiki, reading our energy and stuff. And afterwards, through that process, we'd either write or do a mandala or do something to basically represent what we went through on our journey, or what we saw. And then we'd have a decompression session. But that book, like I said, it's called Shamanic Breathwork: Journeying Beyond the Limits of the Self, was a book that I would suggest to people who are just starting, thinking about maybe trying shamanic breathwork or journeying down that path to spirituality and opening their third eye, or interested in getting almost like a full psychedelic experience. But in this, we are capable of reaching those other parallels, those other we're able to reach those places without substance. Sometimes I'm not against the substance part of it. God, Gaia, whatever source, gave us plenty of medicinal things to help us understand ourself and the source and our spirituality and our soul and our bodies and how it all connects together. But the shamanic breathwork was my first really, like, it was like a 3-hour journey, and that was the first time I had truly communicated. And my mind had my journey had taken me to my ultimate serenity. It was my place of peace, and that was where I would commune, and I would sit and I would learn. And that was my first experience with breath work. And like I said, I had sitters, and anyways, good book. Just wanted to throw it out there.
Oh, definitely. I found it and put it up into the shared section. I'm just giving people fair warning. We're going to be finishing on half past at this point. So over to yourself, JC.
Can you skip me for now?
You okay there, JC?
Yeah, if you could skip me for now.
Okay, I will skip you, and that's not a problem. It was very quiet for me to actually hear that. But the content of the information that's been coming out has been amazing, and I think that we will have quite a number of series of events. I mean, we don't always do research onto these particular topics and books and videos. I mean, we haven't even touched podcasts yet on the way that I can see it. But we normally space them out between other events where we have guests or we talk about other videos or other connections that we've been looking at. I mean, Ian, I think you can see value in keeping it as a continuing series.
Ian?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's been really good tonight.
I mean, the amount of books and things that we've been able to push there, put into a folder and put it together. I mean, it's just going to be fantastic. If anybody comes in and says they want to dip their toes, we'll be able to hand them this, and they won't have to sift through, what should we say, material that isn't meaty enough to actually have correct content. There's enough people giving valid information, and you're not reading, what should we call it, a puff piece. Ian?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I tell you what, dude, you've done a sterling job tonight because the ideas were coming like thick and fast, and my brain just quit halfway through Meyer and talking, and I was trying to write down books and everything before that, but then I just
Let's have to say, it's nothing about Myron. You're just having one of those things, because otherwise it'd sound odd.
No,
That's all right. You
no,
go
it's
to sleep.
nothing about Myron at all. No, it was the context of what he was saying. I think I just got completely lost in it, and then I was like, "Oh my god, what's going on here?" Because when you started Myron, I was with you, and then I just wasn't like, that was
You
quite
mean
a
it from a
journey.
deep perspective. That's what you mean. You don't mean that anything else.
You just phased, oh, that's all. You were taken somewhere else. You phased out like hitchhiking.
That was a
Definitely.
weird space. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It was just a really weird space for a moment because I was definitely absorbed in what you were saying, but yeah, it was man, that threw me completely. And then thanks
Well,
to
there is
Paul
the
though.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe, so maybe you got involved with that.
Maybe.
As long as we don't all emulate Marvin.
Yeah, fair play. But no, Paul, that's a really awesome thing. Because I tell you what, just trying to keep up with everything as it's coming along, it's it's great having the recordings and everything, but having like a reference page to everything is just brilliant. Oh, and obviously people that can contribute brilliant stuff, that helps too.
Oh, Paul, I want you to add a book to your list.
Hang on. Let me just grab my notepad. I put it down for a second. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. It's called Zen Flesh, Zen Bones.
Zen Flash.
Flesh, as in flesh
Flesh.
and blood.
Okay, got you. I was writing a new
Flesh,
book then.
Zen Bones.
Excellent.
It's a collection of Zen and pre-Zen writings compiled by Paul Reps, R-E-P-S. And it's a wonderful book for people who are into the metaphysics of Zen and that kind of Buddhism. And I am, so that's a big part of my cosmology is the Zen experience. So I really recommend this book. It's quite fascinating. I mean, the whole idea of Zen is quite fascinating anyway. But it's a short book. It's not intimidating. It has hundreds of references in it, and it's really quite famous. Actually, I think it was originally produced in the '60s, but it's a quite well-known book. In fact, I bought a
Can I
copy of
ask,
it in China.
I've just
why
found
is
it.
Buddha? Why is Buddha a hermaphrodite, bro?
Say what?
Yeah, why is Buddha a hermaphrodite? You know, like it's half man, half lady. Like every time I see a depiction of Buddha, it's depicted as a hermaphrodite. I'm just wondering why, you know, and it's always sitting around surrounded by snakes or serpents. Can you explain that to me?
Well, a lot of the dualism of the Tai Chi, which is dark and light, which is male and female. There's a union of opposites there. And so you can be on the female side or on the male side, doesn't make any difference. And then you want to have a Kundalini, which is the union of opposites. And that's the goal in Buddhism, to join the upper with the lower, the higher with the lower. I mean, it's that's pretty straight cosmology, but has to do with the Tai Chis, the black and white and the all white and the all black, and so that's the male female part of Buddhism that, simply put, is expressed in that. Seeing the Buddha as female is not unusual, and seeing the Buddha as male is not unusual, since the Buddha is a combination of all things. You know, it's cosmic consciousness. It has nothing to do with male or female.
Is it influenced by the serpents?
Oh, absolutely. The Kundalini is the serpent up the spine that reaches to the crown chakra, which opens the crown chakra into the light. And so, yeah, I mean, the serpent is a big part. And you'll notice that in the caduceus, which is the medical symbol for medicine, has to do with the two serpents going up the spine, because they represent two sides of consciousness, male and female, and then unification and the joining of opposites at the top. So if you get there, good luck. If you get there, then you have this unification of consciousness, and then the opposites of male female just go away, and you become one thing with the universe. So there is no more dualism after the struggle is complete, or after the integration is complete. But yeah, that's a good point you just made. That the Buddha can be female, absolutely. At least that part of it.
Thanks, man. Thank you, mate.
Sure.
That's good going. I'm not sure if you've actually had the chance to read. Oh, of course, I haven't got the guidelines in this room. The guidelines got destroyed as the other room closed down. What we tend to do is tend to put the hands up now and again so we can keep the order and make sure we get people on point with what's going on. Ian, I was looking away when Fred and Shadow Fox put their hands up. If you can tell me who put their hands up, we'll take those two.
It's Fred.
Okay, we'll take those as the last two We'll take those as the last two actual questions, because obviously we're wrapping up around 1:30, and I know it'll be about 5 minutes of saying goodbye, etc. But we'll just try and see what happens. So, Fred, nice to see you. Long time no see.
Yeah, no, I shared my stuff and I went down because I had a lot of stuff going on. But I was just wondering, my question basically pertains to if you said you were going to make like an Excel spreadsheet or like a PDF with everything in here, or are you going to do that curated for later?
I was doing it as we go along. So from the first session that we had, I managed to put together the PDF so it's downloadable from a Dropbox location. And the second one will obviously go into that. And then I'll take the third one set of information that we've got. So between doing the podcast editing and that, I'll get it together as we go along. So it makes a decent resource.
Awesome, thank you. Sorry as always work for you, Paul.
Really? I can see the people laughing behind all this, and I know them. It's always good. They'll just come back and go, could you do it in a different font color? And it'd just be like, oh, okay, here we go again. But no, we'll get it sorted. But the problem, not the problem, it's so worthwhile having all of this, because it would take ages normally on your own, walking along the street, going into bookshops, not bumping into all the people that are in this room with the experiences of the wealth of knowledge they've got throughout their life that they've got, being able to hand it across. and it just really accelerates the learning, I feel. Ian?
Yes, totally.
I just thought you might have a toothbrush in your mouth at that point as you were trying to run off to sleep. So we'll get back onto Shadow Fox.
Thanks. Thanks, buddy.
No problem.
Oh my goodness, I'm cracking up over here.
Oh, by the way, for Christmas, we're going to do the ringtone of Ian going, I just want to go to sleep. So we'll be able to have that to generate finances for a better kind of conference that we're going to do.
I honestly, I think that would be absolutely great. Oh, poor Ian.
Please don't do that.
Hey, if we get to pick and tease Paul, then we get to do you also. You know, I mean, oh.
Yeah, okay. God, I walked into that tonight, didn't I?
You're part of the team now, Ian. I get ribbed. You can get ribbed as well.
Yep.
Fair enough. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Just keep your mic off when you're when you're going to sleep.
Sure helps, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, won't forget that, Mary.
Yeah, I'd actually, yeah, because I'm gonna have to take my leave here shortly. So I would just honestly like to thank everybody for being in the room, contributing, anyone that's been listening. Honestly, it's what makes us this beautiful community: the caring, the loving, the sharing, the laughter. I mean, it is just absolutely a blessing. And I am so grateful to be a part of this. I truly, truly am. And I will say this again because I think Ian might be awake now, but
I
sorry,
wouldn't
Ian.
count on that.
Yeah, but truly, this is like a beautiful orchestra. You know, everybody has the just knows how to bring people together and make those connections, and all the work he's doing. I mean, seriously, Paul, thank you from the bottom of and I'm saying our hearts because Lee Two Hawks is also here. And just a little shout out very quickly to Eileen, because right before she was speaking and the questions were coming up, Lee Two Hawks and I, the mic is off, and so we're discussing it, and everything that we were both saying is exactly what she was bringing forward. And I just thought it was, I mean, we just looked at each other like, wow, the synchronicities, the wisdom, the beauty, and what a great space to be in. And Paul, thank you. Ian, thank you for all the hard work and everything, because this community really is as strong as its people, and we're all a part of it. So thank you, my friends. Thank you. Love.
Thank you, T. Shadow Fox. That was a beautiful thing to say.
Again, thank you very much. It is, as you say, it is all the community, which is the best thing about it all. And everyone is so friendly towards each other, and that's the best part of it.
Yep. So everybody journey well, okay?
And enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye. Adios. Muchas gracias.
Wow.
Beautiful. I don't know if I can follow that at all. And she just stated it. It was so well stated. I have to go as well. So I want to make sure that I thank you, Paul and Ian, and everyone here and all of your contributions. This is how we move forward. And I'm very excited about that.
And also, if you want to hear Imaginal Talk on the 4th of August, book your seats now, wherever we're going to put it, either on Zoom or Twitter.
Right. Thank you, everyone.
No, thank you for turning up as well. Speak to you soon.
Take care.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
Anthony Peake, two sessions. Just having a bad case of flipping the brain into the wrong gear.
Tony's on the 17th, right?
No, 12th.
12th. God.
Yeah.
All right. The 12th. Right. Got it.
So that'd be
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Paul.
No problem, Clint. It'd be nice to see you. And again, if anybody wants to hear any more about what we do, go to perceptionstoday.com, and we have podcasts, YouTube channels, and also people who are involved in the community, as well as much more mailing lists. And also you can contact us via the email bit there. And we got the event list up there as well. So yeah, please keep in contact.
Take care. Bye.
See you, Myron.
Yes, Myron. Take care, dude.
Always good. And I haven't. And there's Nardine down there as well, Miro, and again, Autumn, who we haven't spoken to before. We can say quickly hello if they want. And JC, he was, oops, what's gone on there? And hit the wrong things. It's interesting. Button pressing all gone wrong at that point. So if anybody wants to say anything that we haven't spoken to, oh, Esteval, I haven't spoken to you for a quick bite. We could always find out about your holiday, which would be good. And yeah, it's been really nice to have all new people coming in as well as regulars, being able to contribute a great wealth of information as well as good laughs along the way. Esteval, you are being recorded. Do remember this.
Yes, hello. Good evening.
Did you get a tan?
A little bit.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Did you? Okay, right. Oh, I thought you were going to bring out 400 slides of your photos of your holiday. It'd be good then. Lexi, how are you doing?
Hey, where's Melissa?
Melissa, unfortunately, had, well, she's been suffering with a sore throat. She thought she was going to wake up this morning and be fine, but it was too sore and she hadn't slept all night. So when we started at 7 o'clock UK time, she said that she wouldn't be able to. And I said to her she should rest anyway last night, because no point coming on here with a sore throat unless it's a really husky voice, which might just attract a load of people to come and listen to us.
That poor thing. She's always sick. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's unfortunate with what's going on. I mean, when you move house, sometimes those stresses kind of get onto you, and I think that's probably what's pushed her down with her immunity system. But hopefully she'll be back on track, and we might see her in October or before if we're lucky, because the time will change. Then it won't be 5 a.m., it'll just be 6 a.m. in the morning. Not that I'm getting rid of her. She says she wants to come back.
Sorry, did you say that Melissa was poorly again?
Yeah, she got a bad throat and other bits and pieces, so she was finding it difficult to talk. And I told her last night, as you heard me say, not to bother, just rest up. And she was going, no, I'll be there. And then she woke up and then she didn't sleep all night. And then she said, no, I can't. So unfortunate with her. We need to send her some vitamin C.
Indeed.
Definitely. Brad?
Yeah, the way you called Lexi is exactly how you pronounce my name. Have you
Right.
understood it?
I understand. It's just the fact that I only see the Twitter
Yeah,
handle.
so
I know you as Brad.
it's useful to be Brad, but I remind it.
I'll call you
I have a
Lexi from now
question.
on. I'll call you
No,
Lexi from
no,
now on.
stay Alex.
Oh, don't confuse my poor brain.
Yeah, stay at Brad, Brad, or something like that. I have a question for Ian. Is there something interesting about his father's migraines?
That's a good question. I'll go downstairs and ask him later. They did used to knock him for sex, and I don't think he'd mind me telling you that back in the day he did. I'll just say that he did look into metaphysics, and he does have some abilities, but he hasn't done anything like that for a while. But I'll definitely ask him and see if there was anything with that, because they were some pretty intense moments for him. But like I say, he's managed to get a lot of that under control now. Well, all of it under control, I think, hopefully. So yeah, I'll definitely ask him, bro, and I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, thanks.
No worries.
Okay, we'll quickly get to JC, and then we can wrap it up in probably less than 10 minutes, I feel.
Okay. Can you hear me fine? Or am I
Yeah,
struggling?
you're doing well.
Okay.
I'm just curious to know how you found us this evening.
Through Alexi.
Through Lexi or Alexi? The
No,
Lexi.
Lexi.
Right, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so yeah, I just have a few questions. Hopefully someone here can answer them. Where does remember who you are come from? What's the context that originates from? Remember who you are.
I'm going to have to type that into the old search engines of the world, because I'm taking you're not saying it's a film quote.
Doesn't that come from the meaning that right now, as you experience yourself and consciousness, that's not the real you? The real you is behind that, like your higher consciousness and your soul and everything else. And you kind of need to remember that that's what you are, and not this kind of guy living in this material existence. I think
Right,
that's
and
what
and that's how I interpret it as well. I heard someone speaking about it earlier. This is why I asked the question. If there's no one that really understands where like that phrase or term originates from, then it's fine. I really just want to know where the origin of that comes from.
Yeah, there's better people to answer that question than me, Dave. But yeah, I think they just left the room.
Yeah. No.
Well, you could have The Lion King as the first one, but I'm trying to look deeper than that at the moment, because it's in there as one of the songs. But I'm looking down into the research on that.
Yeah, I guess my the reason why I asked was because see, okay, so remember who you are seems to be a goal, right? For someone who is, I guess, trying to find themselves through spiritual means, right? I just want to know if there's anyone that has actually found who they are. Do they still exist here on Earth and are able to talk to us from experience what it feels like to reach that?
I'm not sure about that one, I'm afraid.
No, again, it's
So-
like the Akashic.
Go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
I was going to say it's the equivalent of the Akashic field kind of information, but again, we're using English language or just language, which doesn't always bring it down to being precise. We're really trying to, feel the sides of an elephant in the dark and try and describe what it is.
I don't even know well, I do know what that is, but yeah, I wouldn't like to try and describe it properly. I have no real experience on that one. But I mean, as far as I understand it, like people use sort of terminology like Akashic fields and things like that to describe certain levels of consciousness, and one in particular which is like information and stuff. But how you go about accessing all of that, like some of the people we have in the group, that's really probably best left for them to explain. But yeah, pop back and give that question over to them, dude. For real.
Yeah, because there's not really much apart from Disney has just taken over the whole of the search top results for doing that, because obviously the Lion King has got it so much, and everybody else then uses that to try and describe it from where I'm looking.
I've definitely heard it before, but I think I'm pretty sure I've heard it spoken more, and probably by the people in the community, than anywhere else. And yeah, I don't even know if I've
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
heard.
It was one of the ladies that were here.
kind of loops back to what Myron was saying about somebody asking about Buddha being a hermaphrodite or something of that matter. But basically, I interpret that remember who you are as if like not my body here in this reality, but my soul, who I am, like my energy is not directly correlated to this body in this present time, in this moment. Who I am on a spiritual level, like I think Paul or Ian had said, describing like the inner self and finding out like your own true spirit, your own true like soul and energy, and like what that like holding on to, like knowing what that energy is within yourself. Like I think that's a better, I don't know, as far as where it originated, other than Lion King, I don't know, but that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, if you just think about the first person who had come up with this type of, I guess, philosophical understanding of life, how do you go through the process of realizing that there is something else other than your physical self, and that this other thing is spiritual, and it's technically a different version, or a false, or not a false version, so the truer version of you. Like what's the process of finding that out?
Well, you
Is
can
it
do
is
it
it through
through accident,
meditation?
and you can do it through accidents and other experiences, head injuries, and also illnesses, as well as just sudden chemical changes within the body. That can also do it. There's so many of those things. And what we've kind of looked at is the liminal state, when you're taken out of a standard routine and you're thrown into chaos for a while and put through the meat grinder, isn't it, Ian? We've kind of seen that as well, quite a lot.
Yeah, that's fair to say. Yeah, lots of meat grinder, actually.
And when I mean that, I mean it can go through the emotional state. It could be complete turmoil of what's going on. It could be breaking legs, divorce, buying a house, anything in between. It's that kind of really where your body's amping up on chemicals that you're producing yourself, and you're altering your kind of. Imagine your body as an antenna, and the signal comes in, and you're either amping it up to receive more, or you're deadening it down and don't feel anything, or it's that kind of. It's really difficult to define, but I mean those are the only ways that I can kind of say of what I know.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I kind of call it like a male period, because I get male periods totally right. Sort of, I'm all right for a bit once one has just gone, and then slowly but surely things will start building up and getting a bit more intense. And then at some point, it either has to come out in a bad way or it has to come out in a good way. But yeah, very much so, man. But obviously, I'm not trying to. My emotional state is not meant to disrespect other people's places that they visited, because obviously, like you've heard, some of them have had really rough times that they've had to go through and come out the other side. But yeah, no, I fully understand that. I think that's a good way of putting it. It's, I don't know, some people just don't seem to have that, but other people, yeah, they seem to. Personally, I think also, if you're the kind of person who's very receptive to everything else that's going on around you, you're also soaking up all of that as well. And so you're not only trying to deal with your own headspace, but you've got all this other stuff that people have put in there, and their emotions and how they're feeling and all the rest of it that you're trying to deal with. And yeah, it gets a bit much. And obviously everyone's different. So, the way we all deal with that, and how much it affects us is unique to all of us. But yeah, it's definitely a thing.
All right, and then there's this connection. Well, supposedly, I don't want to say if it's a fact, but what I've read, that there's a connection between specific families, like within certain families, as generations are born, they continue to have this connection with otherworldly beings. And that kind of, that almost seems like there's a bias, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe there's only a particular type of person who has this ability to do that type of thing. You know what I mean? So if that's the case, then maybe spirituality doesn't pertain to everybody, but it only pertains to those specific people. I don't know. It seems weird that there's a bias. Maybe not, bias is not the best word to use here, but I have not had any experiences with like seeing my ancestors in my dreams, or seeing some sort of like pattern or grid, or communicating with like an extraterrestrial or something like that. You know what I mean? Like a light being or something of that sort.
One of the
But there's
things I would
people who
ask,
have so many different experiences. So there's a huge difference between someone who's like me and a person who has had all those experiences. Also, these experiences that they've had shifted their paradigm. Like it shifts the way they look at the world, and that's a significant thing. That's not a small thing. So, why is it that it seems like it's very particular to a certain set of people?
well, there's also the other thing. I'm going to be very brief because we were going to shut this down again, as I know it always goes on for a bit longer than we think. You might not think that you see something, but the actions that happen will guide you and knock you in a pathway. And you might not even realize those little tiny kind of slaps are actually guiding you somewhere. I mean, for example, and I've said this for everybody else and they know this in the room, that I never wanted to do this. When people were saying to me, you've got a lot of information and everything else, you should do something else with it. They said you should do something to get it even more to the forefront. And they said a podcast. I said, no, I don't want to do that. And I dug my heels in for, where are we, a good 6-7 months. But then the universe just kept on pushing me and pushing me. And no matter what I did, people just got in front. But then again, it happens, I realized when I reflect on my life on other things, that happens as well. And I think, Ian, you can vouch for this. I think Fred can vouch for it, and many others in here, that you don't have to see somebody. It's just those little twitches that you think you're going to try to avoid doing something. And out of the blue, you're just not. And you're going along and you're doing something completely different, but it's beneficial. Ian, Fred, anybody? Or am I just talking to the tumbleweeds?
I'd
Sorry,
like to get my piece out if you don't mind, Ian.
Yeah, go for it.
So I was going to touch on what you said earlier, is like, what's the origin of it? I feel like some people mentioned the Akashic records, but just like think back to like what you're looking for. It doesn't have to be external.
Ian, can you hear him? Because I can't hear him.
Yeah, a little bit breaking up there, Fred.
Just when you gave that answer for everything, which we'll never be able to hear again, it just all cranked up and disappeared. Yeah, it is clear. Go.
Okay, awesome. Sorry. So what I was trying to say is just look at yourself when you were younger. The best case scenario I can think of is like, think of all the times, I don't know if you went to public school, but like there was so many like stupid little sayings or games, or like there was so much content there in terms of like what we kind of just like knew, or it was passed down. And then if you start to talk to your parents, like they did the same things, they had the same discussions, they pretty much like, it's just this constant loop of us trying to like mature or whatever. But the origins of that, I feel like, truly is from God, from the source. Like it's always been within us, just to remind us, because we're a species with amnesia. Like we don't know anything about the ancients and what we came from and whatnot. So like I would just implore you to look within, and like Paul said, there's signs everywhere. There's so much there. It's just potentially you don't have the eyes to see them yet, or you're not tuned to the frequency to to see those things. Because personally, I get bombarded with my stuff. There was another point, honestly, but I lost it. Oh yeah, the bloodline thing. I was gonna say there's so many groups of people that have been more shamanic based, I guess, like more towards being one with the land versus, like reaping the land, But I think that might be another reason that there's that kind of connection there. I feel like this is way off the rails, but you know how there's like a whole like 30, what is it, 33andMe or whatever, like the DNA harvesting stuff, like the COVID tests we're harvesting, and like there potentially could be a link to people being predisposed to that, but I'm not entirely sure with that part. But yeah.
I think you voluntarily went to meet on that one, didn't you, Fred?
No, I did.
Okay, that's good. Oh, by the way, people should also follow the Blue Collar Enlightenment podcast and also the Natural Born Alchemist, who's just turned up, which is good. We're just about literally to close down. Just going to say hello to Miro, and then we might go from there. But if Miro is very quick, then I might say hello to Alex if he's got the opportunity, because we haven't spoken to him for a while. Miro, we're going to literally be hopefully out of here within 10 minutes.
Hello. Okay, now I'm here. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for a very nice evening. I always learn new things. What I want to say about back to question who we are. It's much easier to answer who we are not, because we cannot be something that we experience. We cannot be something what we see. So I cannot be my body. I cannot be my mind because I can observe it. So Vedanta say that I am. There is awareness that is aware of me that I don't know about. That's me. It is kind of funny question and answer. So that's how I understand what I am. And now I'm reading those. It's always forget. I reading about the creation of universe in Vedic scripture. Because I want to find why. Initially, I want to find why Zoroastrian believe in Ahuras and Hindus in Divas. So I'm finding that creation, and it's so fascinating because I thought that I find my answer. First answer I might, but I'm finding all other stuff that is so interesting about the creation, because all those forces what are described there, that are inside us. So it is our feelings, our desires that are expressed by different characters. And in the beginning, they are described, but I just get yesterday, I started thinking about that Brahma originally tried to, when I create the creatures, they failed to propagate themselves by their own will. So he decided to make propagation by, how it's to say, by sexual means. And now it's all that creation, all those forces that are has to be implemented. Okay, I will stop talking because I will not end because it's getting too late. Sometimes other time when I will be better prepared.
Much appreciated. We can go into those topics deeper on another day, which would be great. I have to say, Natural Born Alchemist, did you want to say hello? If not, peace symbol, and then if you can't talk, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll say thank you very much for everyone turning up and providing so much. Oh, Natalie, we haven't had the chance to, Nadine, I should actually say, couldn't actually spot as I turned my eyes to look away. We haven't said hello to you, but thank you very much for everyone turning up. And obviously, if you want more information, as I've said before this evening, go to perceptionstoday.com and you will find as much as we can provide you with, which would be great. Did you want to say hello, Nadine?
Just a quick hi. I don't usually get a chance to join your space because it's usually when I'm working. So, but I was wrapping up early, so I was able to jump on. I just had a quick question about, because I was in the space that got where everyone got kicked out. Do we know why that happened? I wasn't sure if it was because there was
why the
so
space
much.
got pulled. I think there was technical issues. Maybe they had something on one of the servers which had caused problems. You know, Meyer and Ian were having problems prior to the actual room collapsing.
Oh, okay. That's too bad. Because there was so many. You had a lot of tweets up in the nest, and I was trying to look at them all, and it was.
Oh, you can still get them.
Yeah.
You can still get them by following the actual Perceptions Today account and then just looking down, because those are the ones that are there. And also, I've got most of them. If you wanted them in a disorganized manner, I could just literally copy and paste into your direct messaging.
Oh, okay, that'd be great too. Because I was gonna say, if I didn't know if they were all from different days or things like that. I know that some people.
This is only today.
Okay, I know that some spaces, they will create a thread, and they'll just add everything to the thread, and that way everything's kind of connected. And then they just they tag it as, like, they'll have an intro tweet saying, these are all the tweets from today's space, and then as the space goes on, they just keep adding to the thread. So I was gonna just recommend that. But if
that's
you
a good
already have
idea.
it,
We haven't even thought about that one. Now you will find that your direct message actually has more stuff in it than you really wanted now.
No, it's great though. I have to make some time and check it out though. But thank you. And I did listen to your YouTube intro yesterday. I think you sent it out yesterday.
Excellent, yeah.
And it was really good. I did like it. So
superb. Hopefully it holds people's attention and gives them a good idea within 45 seconds of what we're really about.
No, I really liked it. I thought it was, it gave me all the information I needed. So it was good.
Yeah, because long intros into things can be a problem, I feel, now and again, for me personally. But yeah. Excellent. Ian, anything else you want to say and wrap up with?
Not really. Just thank you, everyone. Have a lovely night. I'm so going to bed now. It's going to be absolutely amazing. But yeah, no, thanks a lot, and take care. And hopefully, we'll see you guys soon. So yeah, much love.
Definitely. And thanks again to everyone. And obviously follow all the people in the room as you will see them, because there's always good information from these people. Anyway, thanks again and good night. And this is closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.